Test, test, test. Satnam aloha, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Let me just check the sound because I'm not hearing myself for some reason. Let's see if I'm plugged in. Yeah, plugged in. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So you can hear me. Okay. It's odd that I can't hear myself. Is there an echo? Yes, you hear me. Okay. I just want to check something before I begin, everybody, and thank you for your patience. Where we go. I'm going to check something here. Okay. Okay. Test, test, test. Okay. Audio. Test, test. Test. How about that? That's great. Okay. Mystery solved. Mystery solved. Mm-hmm. Okay. There we go. There we go. Mystery solved. Okay. Okay. Satnam aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And if you can put your name where you're logging in from, your astrological details or your human design details too. It's always nice to see on the chat. Oh, Anji B, she's a generating or manifesting generator like me. I'm not sure if you are or not though. Right? Okay. Okay. Let's just get my my things so I just can relax here. And we're gonna go to me and the images, or maybe me and the zodiac. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. And we'll get the overlays off here. There we go. Okay. So are you feeling the shift in energy since all the planets went direct? When Uranus was the last one to go direct. I'm really feeling it. And the tarot card read confirms that too. Okay. I think I want to get out of this. There we go. Yeah, so things will start moving really quickly now for us, which is good. We've been in this holding pattern, it seemed, for a long time. Patiently waiting. Okay, so this is the chart for Venus, right here. right? As of January 26th, Venus is going to be moving into Pisces, the sign of Pisces. And then it's going to be there until February 18th, Venus in Pisces. So you may be asking, well, what's the big deal about Venus? Why should we care about Venus, right? Well, Venus is the ruler of the North Node, right? So the North Node is the 24. That's ruled by Taurus. You can see it up there, right? It's coming off the Ajna center. So it's always a good idea to follow the rulers, especially the North Node, right? That's karmically where we're going. So I just want to briefly, for the people that are new, and it's always good to hear this over and over again too, what this channel is all about. It's really about your evolution. We're evolving as a humanity right now, and this is why everything seems to be going upside down and crazy. It's all just a reflection of what's going on in the collective unconscious of humanity. So this channel is all about the evolution, right? Your evolution, so that you thrive during this time. And it's all about your authenticity. Like, that's the magic word, is authenticity. You have to be yourself. You have to be real to make it through this time of evolution. So this is a depiction of the neutrinos. So neutrinos are subatomic particles, but they carry information. They have weight, so they carry information. They can travel through solid objects. So the information is the conditioning field, or the matrix, or the Maya, or the program, you could call it. So the program is what's guiding humanity, but it's not guiding us into our authenticity. It's guiding us into our inauthenticity, our not self, it's called, or the ego. So I used this description before. If you're in your house and you're listening to really nice, yogic, relaxing music, and you're feeling relaxed and you're feeling like yourself and you're calm and peaceful, right? That's your authenticity. But meanwhile, the next door neighbor's playing heavy metal music, right? Real, with no harmony, and it's just like bang, 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 that kind of music. But it's not just your next door neighbor, it's your whole neighborhood is playing that same song. And then your city, wherever you're living, or your town or whatever, and then the state or province, right? And then your country, they're all playing the same song. Well, that's the conditioning field. And that conditioning field pulls you away from your authenticity, right? So it's really would behoove us to know what the conditioning field is, and then we can work with this energy, and then it's, we can learn through this or that. That's when we can really use our mind and discern, because we live in a plane of duality. Oh, that's not me. This is me. So your natal chart, this is a transit chart, right? Your natal chart is the red side to the unconscious. This is the portrait, right? God's portrait of you when you were born. So this is what you can count on, whatever your chart looks like. You can go down below in the information box and get your free chart. And it's always a good idea, if you're following my channel, if you haven't, subscribe to it, and then you'll be learning about your own chart through my videos, right? So we have to be aware of this. It's all about being authentic, not following the herd, right? We can't do that anymore. It's dangerous to follow the herd, to go along to get along, right? Make compromises and this. And it's like, no, we're moving through a whole new time, this new global cycle, right? In 2027, the solar plexus mutation is happening, and the Aquarian age is happening. It's all about you being your authentic self. So where else do I want to go with this? So what's really interesting too, which really piqued my interest, is the solar plexus, right? So these are all centers, and this is the center of the solar plexus. And this is going through a huge mutation right now, right? A huge mutation. And it's, I don't have that image. It's, oh, there we go. Right? Our human evolution. So these solar flares, we're going to see more and more of these this year, this solar flare activity. The ancients warned us that this would be a sign that we're going to be going through a huge transition as a humanity, right? We're evolving. It's a real thing. So solar flares are emitted from the sun, right? Also more and more information, and it's triggering this emotional body. This is the solar plexus to release, right? So it's penetrating through the electromagnetic field of the earth, which is like the aura of the earth. And then it's penetrating through our own individual aura, triggering this emotional body to start releasing, right? This is an ancestral memory, right? Ancestral memories are releasing. All those stuck emotions are releasing. And then this in turn is going to mutate. The solar plexus mutates. It's our second brain, right? It's going to start to light up. And then this in turn turns into a spirit awareness. So we're evolving from this physical, experiencing life through our five senses, right? Through our body. From the mental awareness, we've taken as far as we can go with the mind, and now we're moving into this emotional awareness, right? So you cannot connect to your spirit, you cannot connect to your soul, the divine, without this, without your emotions. These are, right? You can't stay in the mind. It's all a concept. It's not real. God is a feeling. The divine is a feeling. Right? So then this mutates, and then spirit awareness. So this is the pathway of awareness for us, right? We're moving from the physical to the mental to the emotional to frequency. We're going back to frequency. We're going back to vibrational for this new age of Aquarius. But look what we got to go through. This emotional body that's all stuck, right? And this gets developed from 0 to 7 years old. All those emotional imprints start then. Right? And then the emotions don't move. Think of water. When water doesn't move, it stagnates. It gets really unhealthy. Well, it crystallizes, right? These emotions crystallize that weren't moved from 0 to 7 years old, and they stay with you, right? Into adulthood. And this is what's creating your reality, right? Our world is an emotional mirror. It's mirroring back to us these stuck emotions so they can start releasing. So if you leave with any message from this video, maybe you're like ready to go off to a nice shiny, another shiny thing on YouTube, is don't think your way through life. It's time to feel your way through life. That's where you're safe. That's what's real. Your feelings are what's real, right? And the emotions are real. It's just about integrating them, and then you get to this feeling tone, and there's a lot of wisdom there. This is this new felt perception that's coming online, the self-sensory system that's coming online, right? So I'm not going to think and go into the details of what's going on in my life. I'm going to feel what's going on. And what do these feelings remind me of? Always goes back to this 0 to 7 year old, right? So this is what my Phoenix program's all about, is doing this shadow work and this inner emotional work. And you got tools and meditations and teachings to understand this, right? This is the new frontier, this emotional body. Okay, right? And so we want to get to spirit awareness. That's where we're all headed, to spirit awareness. We long for this. This is what we're really longing for. But the ego tricks us into like, oh, you're going to get it if you get that new partner, or you get that new job, or that new house, or you're moving into a new place, something external to you, and it keeps you in this state, right, with the ego. But it's through the emotional body. That's what we're all longing for. Peace is on the other side. Joy is on the other side. But it's about integrating these emotions and feeling them. Okay, so back to this Venus, right? So Venus is in the 55, and that really piqued my interest too, right? So this is going through a mutation, this gate here of the 55. So there's 1 to 64 of these gates or hexagrams. Also the gene keys. I'm putting the gene keys in here too. And so each one has a shadow, a gift, and a city. And the 55 is the only one that has the gift and the city are the same, which is freedom, right? So it's the shadow of the victim. The victim consciousness needs to leave the planet, right? Non-negotiable. We have to let this go. We have to let this go. And it's also called the gate of spirit, right? Because of this solar plexus mutation, right? Spirit awareness, right? This is what's getting triggered. And there's the solar plexus shadows and fears. So these are all the gates of this is our emotional awareness, right? So the 36 is the shadow of turbulence. This is the fear of being, right? Venus is hitting all of these, right? All of the ones ruled by Pisces. So fear of being emotionally vulnerable, right? The 36. 22 is dishonor. It's the fear of silence. 37 is the weakness, fear of tradition. This is about male and female, masculine and feminine energy. Conflict, the fear of intimacy. This is Virgo. Reaction, fear of rejection. That's Aquarius. And then 55 is Pisces, victim, fear of emptiness, right? Fear of emptiness. And then 30 is Aquarius, desire, fear of the fates. But we're gonna just look at the Pisces ones, right? So these are the ones ruled by Pisces: 36, 22, 37, and then 55. I don't know why 55 is not in here, right? So these are the fears here. And so you can see 36, 22, 37, 55, all ruled by Pisces. So very bright. Pisces is the archetype of spirit. Yeah. And the only one that's in the up here is the 63. That's the only one that's not the solar plexus, and that's Pisces. Doubt, right? But I'll talk about that in a future video. I don't want to overwhelm people with too much information, you know? Yeah, so there we go here. So all ruled by Pisces. And Venus is going to be hitting each one of them. Okay, including the 63. Okay, so let's look at Venus and what Venus represents in human design. Just put me down here so we can see. Okay, so there's Venus, and this is the conditioning field, right? This represents the conditioning field, which may or may not be true for you. So if you look at your chart and you've got the 55, then this is going to be true for you, right? But statistically, that's going to be pretty low, right? So, so if not, then this is the conditioning field. This is the heavy metal music pulling us, right? So Venus, what does this represent? This is the moral code of the matrix or the Maya, the program, whatever you want to call this reality. What is being promoted, right? So this is the judgment of what is right or wrong. It's a set of rules of how people should behave in society. So it may or may not be correct for you. Chances are it's not correct for you. If you got maybe you got the 55 in Saturn, it's still not correct for you, right? So your moral code will be connected to where Venus is in your chart, right? Where it is in your chart on the conscious side there. So it also represents values and money, attraction, ease, right? So once I get into the astrology, it's going to bring some, so we're harnessing this energy, but we know if I don't have that 55 in Venus, it's not me, but I can use this energy. This is where you get smart. Projectors, I'm a projector. This is where you get smart, because we know energy. The projectors know energy, and it's because we're a non-energy type. It's like, I know this is not my energy, but I'm going to harness it. I'm going to use it. Because the victim, the 55, this is the baseline for all the other 63 gates. Victim. Their shadow is always victim. Wherever there's a shadow pattern, there's a victim, right? There's a victim essence, of victim there. So we can use this energy. Okay. So back to Venus right here. So that's the conditioning field. So what are we going to see? This is what we see in the headlines, right? When you start to study this program and see the patterns, another thing, projectors, just to toot our horn here for projectors, we're really good at pattern recognition, right? So we're going to see this out in the headlines, in the news. We're going to notice it around us because most people are unconscious and asleep. I mean, more and more people are awakening, but they're just following this program. They just follow this program like parrots, right? And it's fun to watch them actually use the language, like even keynote words they'll use. It's quite fun. It's quite funny to watch and observe. So, okay, where was I going with this? With Venus and back to victim, right? So victim, we're already seeing this in the world because last year, I just want to get my, okay, it was struggle. I think it was in Jupiter, yeah. The 55, in the New Year chart, I don't have, there's my New Year chart from 2022. It was in Jupiter. Jupiter was in the 55, and Jupiter was like the conditioned guidance, right? The guidance. So it was also in victim. So this is going to encourage, right? We're going to see this in the headlines, that it's correct to be a victim, right? That it's right. It's morally right to be a victim. It's morally right to encourage victimhood in other people too, right? Because you may be like, well, I'm not a victim, but then I'm putting other people in the box of victim. Then you're doing this, right? That it's morally correct, right? To be a victim. And we're not victims. We are not victims. Okay, so I just want to talk about the shadow of victim. We've gone through, everybody has had their cross to bear during this time. Test it, like extremely test it, spiritually test it, right? Born and incarnated into these families, these ancestral lines to purify. That's why part of the reason why we choose a certain family line is to purify a wound, some kind of ancestral wound that we came in, we took on, right? And then we purified, we worked through it, did the alchemy, did all the inner work. Maybe none of your family members did any work at all. There can be some resentment coming up about that. But the black sheep of the family are not black sheeps of the family. They're the ones that can come in and do the work, do the inner work. And it can be a thankless job, but that's okay, right? Because the divine, we're rewarded by the divine with this inner work. So the victim, so we go through, right? When we incarnate into these family lines, we go through experiences, but they're not you. They're not who you really are. So where victim comes in, victim wants to identify with all these horrible experiences and traumatic experiences I had, but they're just the details of your experiences. They have nothing to do with your identity. You're a spiritual being having human experiences, right? And so the powers that be, right, the conditioning field that wants to pull us away from our power, which is our authenticity, wants us to identify with this, with these details of our life. And then we create the victim Olympics, right? Whoever gets the gold medal for the victim experience they went through, they get the biggest voice, and we all feel sorry for them, right? And we feel guilty. We give these people our power, right? Our power away. So when you put people like that, like, oh, that they went through such horrible experiences and this and that, and right? It's like you're feeding your own inner victim when you do that. So you can't look at people like that. You've got to look with your third eye, not your two physical eyes, right? Like, what a great soul to take on what they did, right, in this incarnation. So this is the trap, right? So the trap is identity. That's the trap with this victim is identity. So it's freedom, right? So this is when we're truly free, is when we're free from this victim consciousness. And who's behind it all? Worm tongue. The ego. This is the form. I've just given the ego a form so you understand. It's better you can understand it with the mind. This is the not self. Right here is the ego, is the not self. That's the voice in your head, right? That's always been there since you were a child. And you start to believe, most people believe that this ego is them. And that's that voice in your head that's always talking. And it came in strong when you were 7 years old. Remember, 0 to 7 is the emotional development, and then 7 to 14 is the mind, and the ego comes in really, really strong with the development of the mind. So ego is not your friend. There's New Age teachings out there that talk about healthy egos and this and that, and that's giving your power over to this. This is more ego, right? More ego. And we can live. We can live, and I want to stress this, we can live without this ego. Don't be listening to the lies. This is the false light that's out there. We were said that in the Aquarian age, we're going to see so many false prophets out there. Everybody and their dog's grandmother is going to tell you that they have the way. They have all the answers, right? And just myself, I'm pointing you back to you. Don't follow me. I'm just pointing you back to yourself. Right? All the answers are inside you. So this is the state of awareness that we're moving into, spirit awareness, away from this ego, away from this mind, and we can live happy and peaceful and joyous, creative without this. We don't need this, right? This is coming into the eternal now. The ego and the mind, they belong in time. We're coming into the past, present, future. We're coming into the present now moment. This is the eternal now. And that's this state of consciousness. This is freedom, right? So this needs the victim, right? The ego needs to be a victim. Victim or victor, they're the same thing. I got something over that person. I gave them a piece of my mind. That's still victim. That person did that to me. This happened to me. I want revenge. That's still victim. They're both victim, the consciousness of victim. So this ego wants to exist. That's its MO. I need to exist. And how I need to exist is you feeding me energy, constantly feeding me with conflict, feeding me with victim thoughts of how horrible my life's been, and that person did that to me, and this. That's all you're doing. You're just shoveling your energy into that ego's mouth. And that makes it stronger. It makes that ego stronger and stronger and stronger. Because then there's an identity. This is identity. Ego identity. It's the not self. It's not you. Right? So it needs a problem. And you'll notice this. Let's start noticing your mind. This is what this work is all about. It's creating a relationship between you and your mind. Right? It's hard to put, it's difficult to put a picture, right? An illustration to who you are, because you're more vast even than this, but I've done my best here. It's the relationship between you and the mind, you and the ego. Don't identify with this ego because it limits you. Right? It makes you teeny weeny to who you really are, right? This vastness. So it's about this is why we need a sadhana, right? We need a meditation practice, something that we do every day that puts it in this state, right? So Kundalini yoga, but whatever floats your boat, like what works for you. It's about you finding your own unique path, right? And then watching these ego thoughts, and you'll notice this, even with people, because people connect even through victim consciousness. Well, I've got to think about a problem that I've been having in my life, right? And then I can connect with my friend, and then we're both feeding each other's victim. Well, this happened to me, right? We're not taught to connect in a real way with other people, right? So imagine you without a problem. Imagine that. Just bring that thought into your mind. I don't have any problem. My only problem is feeding this. That's my problem, is I feed that ego, right? So if you go into that state, I don't have a problem, well, this ego will start kicking up a stink, right? Because it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're getting, the true you is getting larger and larger and larger, right? So the ego needs a problem. It needs a problem to exist. It's all about existence. That's what the shadow is all about. So here's the ego in your void, in your head. How you know you're in the shadow pattern. And we're going to see this out in the world, right? But we're going to know this isn't me. This isn't me. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel bad because other people have gone through horrible experiences. I'm not going to tell my story, my victim story over and over and over again, feeding this ego. I'm going to be silent, right? I'm going to be that holy witness with people, and I'm not going to feed this ego, right? So it's the notice me, notice me, notice me, notice me. Watch a narcissist, because you'll see the ego really at work in a narcissist, because it's so extreme. But we all have this, right? We all have this voice in our head. Look at me, I have a problem. I exist, right? See, and the shadow pattern makes you see the surface of things and chase something outside of me to feel better, right? And I'm either complaining or blaming. So I'm complaining inside. You can even be internally complaining, or complaining to other people, blaming other people for how you feel, right? Remember, this is the emotional body work. And you're the star victim in the drama of your life. You're the star, right? Nobody knows what I went through. Nobody understands what I went through. I'm a victim. Ego. I'm special. It's about specialness. And then in relation to my spirituality, I lack commitment and I become a spiritual tourist, because that ego does not want you to commit to any kind of spiritual path. It wants an exit door. It will only take you so far. You know the spiritual tourists. They're on to the next shiny thing, right? And we've got so many distractions now out in the world, and the ego will choose. These people that are identified with their ego, the ego will choose what path I take. I want to just follow my bliss. This doesn't make me feel good, so I'm going to go somewhere else. These are false light teachings, right? We don't grow being comfortable. We grow through discomfort, and that's the emotional body work. If you're feeling discomfort, don't listen to that ego telling you that, oh, that's right? That's blaming. This isn't for me. I'm going to go find something else. You're not going to grow and evolve, right? Okay. So the shadow feels victimized by your material reality, because it's also connected to prosperity, right? Your material, what you're seeing in the material realm. And this need for external validation. Needing that other person to feed your victim. Oh, poor you, right? That was horrible. And just to keep you trapped in that box, a victim, right? So just knowing without a doubt, I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. These are just details that happened in my life. They're not my identity. It's not my identity. Okay, so you watch this. You don't listen. That's how you do shadow work. You don't listen. That's not me. I'm not this. I'm not going to identify with this. I'm not going to go to write a book about it. My whole identity is surrounded around this identity of victim. It's just drop it. Let it go. They were just details. I'm moving on, right? I'm moving on. I'm growing. I'm evolving. And this is true freedom, right? So with freedom, the gift here in the city, remember, this 55 is going through a huge mutation, right? So we're going to see this coming up in the collective, out in the world. So I understand that I've been a victim of my unconscious belief patterns, right? So this can go into your unconscious mind, and this totally creates how you see the world, right? If you're in victim consciousness, you're listening to him, your ego, the ego. And then you start to see, all you see is victim out in the world. It completely affects your perception. You're limited in your perspective of the world, right? And these can be inherited from your ancestors, because we inherit our ancestral wounds. Remember, we choose what family line we come into. Well, we also inherit their belief patterns, these unconscious belief patterns, right? So it keeps us from really like stepping up, right, in the world, and to take our place, right? So I take responsibility for my karma and my ancestral karma expressing itself in my life, you know? And we're going to be, this year especially really started, I felt like the karmic process is becoming more and more intense, especially in our relationships. And it's always to take the high road. Don't go into victim, right? I don't know what our dynamics were in our past life, you know? But now I just have to work through this. I'm greater than this. I'm moving through this victim consciousness. I don't understand, and it's nothing wrong. Why is it happening? Because it's required for you, for your spiritual development. And I'm free because I see through my deepest unconscious patterns. And again, it's pattern recognition. Look back and reflect on your life, right? Like, what's this pattern? And the pattern will be an emotional pattern. Why do I feel abandoned? Right? This happens to me over and over and over and over, that I'm rejected and I'm abandoned. Right? Well, then you go to the feeling of, I've got grief, I've got sadness about this, or I have anger about that. That's your work, right? It's the feelings is what your work is. That's what you're going to integrate. And then you're going to let it go, right? And move on. And you don't rely on outer systems or structures to keep you safe. And this is the codependency that's coming, right? I talk about this with this cross of the sleeping phoenix coming. We got to let go of these old templates of being codependent on other people and systems, right? All the answers are inside you, right? God, the divine's inside you. You don't need something outside of you, right? It's all inside you. So you embrace peace even in the most painful moments. So freedom is a feeling. See how the mind tricks us? Well, you'll be free when you earn this much money, or you'll be free when you're in a loving relationship, when you have something outside of you and it keeps you focused on, it's the big carrot that keeps you focused on the external. When really it's a feeling, that's what you're chasing, right? And it's to go inside, right? Not to be distracted from the external. So this 55. It's a huge, big deal. It's going to be there until January 31st, and then it's going to be moving on to the 37 next, right? And that's a big one between male and female relationships. Okay. And let me just acknowledge some folks, just to take a little break here. So, no, I'm Jeanette, 6'2", Pisces Sun, Capricorn Rising, Aries Moon. Jen Goodwin, Satnam from Vancouver Island. Mickey, a reflector, yay. And Angie B. Lala, Wicked Snail, Lala, okay. Mental Projector, Scorpio, Sun, Moon. Yeah, we're all facing tests right now. Okay, Satnam, Rachel Reed. Okay, Karen. Oh, your birthday's tomorrow. Happy solar return, Karen. Aquarius. Oh, Jensen and Greg, Satnam, Manifester. Okay. There we go. And M. Bain, Satnam. Another projector. Satnam Thomas from Chicago. And that's everybody. I believe, yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's look at quickly the tarot read here. And if people feel called, Satnam NGB, birthday next week, another Aquarius, is what your greatest challenge is right now. It's usually health, relationship, or money. Or your sole purpose, right? If you could write that down, that would help. What your biggest challenge is right now. Because that's your work, right? That's your work. Okay. So there's the tarot. The tarot read that I quickly did before I jumped on here. And just want to see that my mouse is here. There we go. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. So of course I prayed over it before picking the cards. So this is where we are right now and kind of leaving behind, right? Leaving behind. And this is the Ten of Pentacles. So this has been showing us that we've been looking at a long-term view. That's what we've been called to do during this time with all the planets retrograde, is to really reflect and get clear on where we're best called to serve and to contribute, right? To contribute. Because this is our time to help, right? To help people in their transition into the Aquarian age. And you may say, well, I'm not a healer, a teacher, or life coach or whatever, but you're here, you're interested in this. So this means you're going to be helping people. And it doesn't have to be formal, right? You can help people. You can change someone's life by just even having a conversation with some stranger, right? At the grocery store. Things like that. We don't even hear about these, how impactful we are with the people that we come in contact, especially the manifestors, right? The human design manifestors. So this was all about getting the Ten of Pentacles, like that financial, the material, right? The material foundation that we need. So it's saying not to worry, that we don't have to worry about finances. So don't be wasting your energy. And this is the trump card of that ego, right? Is bringing out money. How are you going to pay for this? It's all about future. It's all about time, future, past, right? It's worry. And worry is like a negative prayer because you're feeding that energy, right, of worry. And it means I don't trust in myself. I don't trust in the divine. I'm going to trust this ego. I'm going to trust little g. And that's not a good way to go. I'm going to do what everybody else is doing. No. So not to worry about finances and just expecting that the money will show up. There's a great story of a master yogi, Yogi Bhajan, the master of Kundalini Yoga. And he was touring the U.S. This was like in the early days, in the late 60s. And he had a person to help him, right? To help him, take care of him, cook for him and stuff. So he gets back to where he's staying in the Savadar, right? The assistant says, I'm so sorry, like the fridge is locked, there's no food. It's a holiday here in the USA. I'm so sorry. And Yogi Bhajan didn't miss a beat. He said, I'm going to go take a nap. Wake me up when the food arrives, right? So he goes, takes his nap. The Savadar an hour later is banging on his door. Oh my God, there's all this food that just magically arrived, right? So Yogi Bhajan goes down and somebody mentioned, that was having it was a Thanksgiving dinner, and it's like, Yogi Bhajan would really enjoy this. We should bring a little bit of food over. And then somebody else said, well, we'll need tea and we'll need this. And they all gathered together, brought all this food over. So we kind of have to have that attitude. And the attitude is like, wake me up when it comes, basically, right? Like just expecting the money will come, and I'm just going to leave it right? I'm going to focus on my service and my contribution, and I'm going to trust, right? I'm going to trust. I'm not going to waste all this energy, right? Projector, again, we're all about how you use your energy and not wasting your energy on stuff like that, right? It's a trap. So, yeah, it's about long-term success here. The Ten of Pentacles, not worrying, right? Not worrying. And then the challenge here is the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is all about being the leader. And it's about a vision. Like what is your vision for the future? This is not, King of Wands is not about the victim, right? At all. And it's the gate of spirit, right? This 55 is the gate of spirit. So having that spirit of confidence, right? To move forward now. It's about long-term success. So your questions that to ask yourself now is like, if anything were possible, get into this frequency of freedom, right? What would I create? Don't let that victim consciousness come in. But what if how's that going to work? And nobody will want that. Nobody will pay for that. Let that go. Go into freedom. The consciousness of freedom. What would you create? Ask yourself about, another question to ask yourself is, what inner spiritual change am I in right now? Because we're all going through this metamorphosis. The 55 is also, every gate has an animal connected to it. And the animal that's connected to this, the insect, is the dragonfly. The dragonfly is such a powerful image for transformation, right? This is the 55. And the gene keys, that's the symbol, is the dragonfly. So you want to focus your willpower not on lower frequency victim consciousness, right? On higher goals with this King of Wands, and be ready for anything, right? So you notice the King of Wands, and the Wands are all about spiritual, and they're all about inspiration. It's not a flash in the pan, right? The King of Wands. So this is the challenge, is to get into this freedom, right? Like imagining what you want to create, right? And remember, it's not just about you. I just want to create this for me. It always includes other people. It's the Aquarian age, right? It always includes other people. So the King of Wands can take care of business, right? Takes care of business. Doesn't go belly up and stumble and stay there. Falls off the horse and stays there. No, the King of Wands gets back up on the horse, right? The confidence to move forward. And remember, mistakes are just discoveries. This is a big lesson, is to stop not letting mistakes stop us. These mistakes are just discoveries. What did I learn from this? Okay, I went down a dead-end road, but what did I learn from this experience? We're in Earth School. And so at the bottom is movement. The Eight of Wands, that's the second fastest card in the tarot. This is quick movement, right? Fast-paced change. But then you've got the King of Wands energy there, like ready to harness this energy, right? So this is the foundation. And so the question here is, how can I be more in the flow, right? How can I align my efforts with the best results? And what changes are sweeping through my life right now? The universe is showing you where the energy is, where the universe is showing you doors to walk through now, right? So this is like we've been in this retrograde energy. Now things are going to start moving forward. So this is about heading off into new horizons, right? New horizons. So to me, it's about confidence. It's about being confident. And then on the top, the spiritual of this reading here for Venus in the 55 is the Queen of Wands. And that's the counterpart to the King of Wands. So you may be partnering up with people too, right? So this is the queen, so it's the feminine energy, right, of this wands, and it's what makes you feel more radiant, right? It's not victim consciousness. That's not going to make you feel more radiant, but freedom. What makes you feel free? What makes you feel free? And how can you be authentic and to express your vision in a real, true way that's true for you? And how do you instill confidence in yourself? What makes you feel confident? What do you do that makes you feel confident? And it doesn't have to be like, don't judge it. Don't let the ego judge it. Well, that's superficial, that you should care about a haircut or something. If the haircut makes you feel confident, then this is the Queen of Wands is like, go for it, right? It's about you. What makes you feel confident? Don't judge it, right? Don't judge it. And how can you instill the confidence in other people? And what is confidence? It comes from the root word confide. It's confiding in the divine. That's where you gain your confidence from. So it's turning your passion, right? The King and Queen of Wands are very, very passionate into a spiritual striving forward. Yeah. So that's positive. See, we're seeing movement. And then we got the Wheel of Fortune, Major Arcana. All Major Arcana trump the whole reading, right? So this is a new cycle that's starting, right? A new cycle, a turning point, a destiny. And this is about learning through the ebb and flow. Now, what's really interesting with ebb and flow, that goes back to this 55, right? This 55. 55 is the glass half full or is the glass half empty, right? How you perceive your life. So sometimes there's an ebb and flow, like look to nature, and the same thing with your finances. Sometimes there's an ebb and flow. Maybe there's a lot of flow at periods in your life, and maybe there's not so much in your life, but that's just the natural cycles, right, of nature. So this is what this gate is also teaching us, right, is to embrace the ebb and flow, is the emotions, right? So sometimes you want to be rid and you want to be purging, and then sometimes you just feel empty and there's nothing coming in, right? That's part of this 55 energy. So what have you learned from the ebb and flow? Maybe you've learned that, okay, when there's a flow, that means I have to save, right? I have to save some. Maybe when there's an ebb, I got to tighten my belt a little bit, right? That's about learning through the ebb and flow, the natural cycles. And so this is saying to change. It's like extreme change, radical change. So do you resist? Like, how do you approach change? Do you approach it as this King of Wands, or do you go into victim, right? Or you get afraid of change. I can't do it. I'm inadequate. I can't do it. Or I'm confident. And I go with the flow. So what cycles and patterns are repeating in your life? That's another question to ask as you move forward. Like to really spot these patterns. What are the patterns? Just take time to just reflect. What are the patterns? And you're going to be ready for them this time. So the wheel's always turning. So it's turning you forward, right? It's a positive card. The Wheel of Fortune doesn't turn you back. It's not regression. It's about moving forward. Yeah. Okay. So it's knowing that everything will work out in the end. And that's that King of Wands and Queen of Wands. They're very confident, these two. And so let's look at the ego card. This is the ego trap card. Right? Up here, the ego trap card is the slippery fish. And the slippery fish card, this is about your mind. It's about the ego. The slippery fish will not give you a straight answer. So you may be drawing people with this Venus, because Venus is attracting. It's about relationships too. Some slippery fish people in your life, right? So just be aware of that. And so you don't go to your mind and try to understand and figure out that person. Are they lying to me? Or are they telling me the truth? You go to your feelings. Your feelings are not going to lie. Your feelings, you need your emotions and your feelings to translate your intuition. Your intuition is nothing without your feelings activated, your emotions activated, and you'll know the truth. So this is the won't give you a straight answer, slippery fish, right? So that person, if they're ruled by their ego, or maybe your ego's got a little bit of a slippery fish to it too, right? So master deflecting energy off of me. So this could be about a hiding too, right? You're being called to move forward with this energy of the King and Queen of Wands, like movement, 8 of Wands. And then the slippery fish is like, this is the ego that wants to be like, don't look to me. Don't look to me don't have expectations of me. I'm just little and tiny. I'm a victim like you, right? So that could be the slippery fish too. So you watch your mind. Oh, look how I just distracted that compliment that came at me, right? Reflect on it. It's just about taking pause and reflecting, especially the manifesting generators and generators. Take pause. Oh, look at my slippery fish mind. It just took all that attention. Here that person was asking that they needed help in a relation. They were having problems in their relationship, and I want to be a relationship coach, and I'm like feeding their victim. I'm not even like showing myself, showing my light, right? I'm hiding it under a bushel. And it's so quick. These patterns are so quick. And especially if you had this pattern when you were a child, right? Don't get too big for your britches. Don't think you're so great. Right? These patterns, that we have to break these patterns, these victim patterns. So this is about also just beating around the bush, not being authentic, not being honest, the slippery fish. And it's not you have to remember, this is you. Honesty, that's a spiritual value. That just comes with you. That's who you are. Dishonesty is this ego. Yeah. So this can create a lot of problems, the slippery fish, right? And so Venus will show us that in our relationships. So that's the overall here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we'll go to the astrology. Okay. I just want to see some people's... Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll take comfort in Thomas Hall that things are ending, right? That's what that wheel of fortune is telling us too, right? Karmic cycles are ending. We're beginning a whole new cycle. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Dan, my biggest challenge, Dan says, is recovering from a car accident. I was hit by a bus. Fortunately, only broke my femur. What can car accidents mean spiritually? Well, it's a shock. It's a shock. And to me, like any kind of accident, means it's stopping me from whatever trajectory I've been on. And I've noticed that with other people in my life, because it gets you to stop. You're on this trajectory, especially if you're run by your conditioning, right? If you're run by this conditioning field and you're a generator and manifesting generator, it's difficult for you to stop and reflect. So it's getting you to stop. Okay, what trajectory was I on there? What was I clinging to? What was I holding on to? You know, and sometimes you get the intuitive message, but you don't listen. Right? Or your mind is so noisy with distractions, you can't hear it. And then other little signs will happen, but you don't notice because you're not grounded in your body. And then it's the divine. It's like, okay, Dan needs the 2x4 method, right? To learn. So the thing is, when you get more in touch with this you know, we're moving into the vibrational here and frequency, you're going to feel it before it manifests in the external world. These signs, your intuition would be very, very subtle. This is why meditation is important, right? And the subtlety could be like, you need to leave this relationship, or you need to leave this job now, right? And you act from there instead of manifesting some crisis, right? So I'd look at that and then go to the emotional. It's like, how did it make you feel, right? Does this go back to 0 to 7 years old? Was I attacked physically? 0 to 7 years old, right? Did I experience physical abuse in my childhood? Because that could trigger these emotions that need to be moved too. So there's lots of different layers you can look at it. But I would look at it. Don't just dismiss these things as coincidences like mainstream teaches us to do. Oh, it was just random. The world is, the universe is not random at all. Yeah, many of my old friends left me. So, right, it's like, yeah, there's a pattern there for you to look at. And this goes back to the 0 to 7 years old. Okay. Yeah, Jen Goodwin. So death is grief, right? The whole planet is going through, because there's so much death. We're going to see it this year. The statistics are going to start to come out, right? The truth of how many people have left the planet. And the ancients told us that 2/3 of the population would go, right? So grief. There's so much tremendous grief in the human, right? The human heart. So that's what I would do, is just to feel, Jen Goodwin, your aunt is dying, just to feel. Yeah. And of course you don't want to look at it, right? It's painful. It's not comfortable. Okay. Okay. Oh, Anatomy of the Spirit. Yeah, I read that long ago. Carolyn Mace. Yeah. There's definitely an emotional connection to it. Okay. So we're ready? We're ready, yeah. Okay. Let me just see. So if you could put your astrological stuff too as we come up. Okay. So let's go for Aries. So Aries, actually the moon is in Aries right now. And what does that mean? If you have an Aries sun, then you're going to, your secretion, your secret secretion has started for the next 2.5 days. So I did a video on it. I edited that out. And you can see it on YouTube. It's called The Secret Secretion. And it describes what happens to you every 29.5 days. So it's when the transiting moon is in your sun sign. So for Aries, check that out. This is your time. And it just means you keep your vibration up, right? You don't eat GMO, non-organic food. You don't drink alcohol, do drugs. You don't have sex, right? Or maybe you want to, but it's got to be conscious, right? It's just all about being really, really conscious and protecting this secretion. And in turn, it comes back up. I describe it in the video. And it illuminates the pineal gland. It's part of your ascension, or the ascension process that we were not taught. This is all the occult knowledge that's coming out now. Coming back. Okay. So it's in your 12th house, Aries. This Venus in the shadow of victim. So if you haven't watched, watch the beginning if you just jumped onto this to learn more about this shadow pattern. Right. Okay. Let's do this. So what you want to do is you want to dig up where that victim consciousness is for you, and so you've got Venus there. So Venus brings ease to it. It makes things easy. Venus. It's like Venus is a positive energy. So where you don't feel free, you know, in terms of your spirituality, could be addictions too, Aries. Maybe you got some addictions where you don't feel free. Let's see the card, and then we'll get a sense of where to look here. So how can I help my Aries friends? This one. Aries, rising sun or moon. And then let's look at, it's addictions. Okay. And then let's just see what the ego is telling Aries. What ego trap is Aries in? So the 12th house is really like the house of mirrors. Everything is hidden. It's hidden, it's confusing. Okay. Right? And Aries is all about impulsive, right? The Aries archetype is instinct, right? Moves forward, and there's no power for you in the 12th house. Like you're being shown that you need to surrender. Big time. What's the ego telling our Aries friends? This one. Oh. Okay, Aries. Okay. So you got the, you can see that there. It's the 7 of Cups. So that's the alcohol. Right, and the 12th house rules that. So you want to be off the alcohol for these next 2.5 days, because that destroys the secretion, the spiritual secretion that you're going through. So this is confusion, it's illusion, it's choices, it's fantasy, right? Being in fantasy, and just being distracted, right? So things that escapism, right? And this so fits with the 12th house. What are you escaping from? And what do you remember with the brain, the mind? It's like a computer. It avoids pain and seeks pleasure. So that's what it's going to give you when you're in this 12th house energy, right? And you're going to be in there for quite a bit. With Venus is going to be in there for quite a bit. So Venus is also the things that gives us pleasure. So you're going to have to watch this, right? Because it's keeping you in the victim energy, Aries, right? It's because with the victim, it's putting something outside of yourself. It's giving it power, right? So whatever your distraction is, whatever your addiction is, you're giving it power. And this keeps you in this victim consciousness. So during this time, you've got the, till January 31st, is the potential to be free, right? To feel free, not to feel victimized by these things outside of you that are like illusions, right? They're just illusions. They're like a mirage, you know, in the desert when the people see the water, it's like a mirage. And then they go running after it and there's nothing there but sand, right? So this desire, right, in the 12th house for something outside of you to give you pleasure. It could be a person too, but it's all 12th house, all about secrecy, right? It could be an affair, cheating on your partner or something, like a temptation. This is just going to lead to dependency. Remember this time that we're moving through. For the cross of the sleeping phoenix, it's all about self-reliance. It's not about becoming dependent on something outside of you, right? So you want to stay wide awake, right? Stay wide awake, especially around alcohol and other drugs, right? That's going to be a temptation. And just because it's in the 12th house, And it's in the shadow of victim. It could be like an ancestral pattern, right? That's been passed down to you. To look at that. And then what's the ego telling you? Worthless, right? So this is the ego in your head. That voice in your head that you believe is you, right? Not you, right? The not self is pulling you away from your power, which is your authenticity. It's telling you you got no worth. You're worthless, right? You're worthless. It says that you have no value, right? You have no value, right? And then this is tested, especially when our money card starts disappearing. Our money starts to go. Ebb and flow, right? This 55 is about the ebb and flow. That sometimes the money's there, there's an abundance of money, and sometimes it's not, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? That's a spiritual path in itself. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, right? This will show you, it will bring the feeling of worthlessness, the shame, right? Of, oh, I have no worth as a human being, right? This is what the ego is telling you, right? So it's looking at your sense of self-value, right? And so this is what you're escaping, trying to escape this pattern, right, of worthlessness. And sometimes it's got to get extreme for us to see it. This can be, it's the 12th house. It can be so buried deep in our unconscious, we're not even aware of this, right? Especially as an Aries, right? Confident and instinct, and right, they're this King of Wands, Queen of Wands energy, right? I know it's Leo, but they've got that Aries fire energy, right? The Queen and King of Wands. That this time is showing you the surrender. The 12th house is like you cannot exert your own personal willpower. The ego has no power in the 12th house. It's the house of self-undoing, which is the ego, undoing the ego. So you want to go to your childhood wound, Aries, to move through this, right? Through the evolutionary process. Right here is the emotional awareness system. So you want to move through the emotion, right? The pathway of awareness, Aries, we're moving back to the vibrational, is go to the 0 to 7 years old, right? Where you felt like you were worthless. That's the source. That's the source to go to. Yeah. Where you were taught you had no value. And just to tell yourself, I exist, I'm on this planet, which means I have value because I'm here. I have value, but you get your value from the divine, right? And don't be trying to escape through addictions with the 12th house, right? Whatever you're addicted to. But the 7 of Cups is all about alcohol, that one. Okay. What else? I think that's it for Aries. So remember to check out the secret secretion, Aries. Okay. So let's go for Taurus. We'll get some cards first for Taurus. Okay. So you've got the shadow of victim in your 11th house, Taurus. So if you've just jumped on here to go back to the beginning and to watch what this shadow pattern is all about. And this is Venus, and Venus is the helper bee, right? The Venus can help you to move out of the shadow of victim when it comes to your friendships, right? Friendships or your hopes and dreams, right? 11th house, and move into this gift of freedom. So you may have been feeling victimized. It's all about digging up that victim consciousness, going and getting the weed. It's a weed. That's a block to your spiritual development. And maybe there's been friends that have left. It's ebb and flow, right? The 55 is all about an abundance and a drought. So maybe you had an abundance of friends, and then you went through a period where there was nothing. There was just a desert. Friends left, and to be okay with that, not to feel victimized by it. Okay, so we'll get into the cards because then we can zoom in. Okay, what do we got for our Taurus friends? What do our Taurus friends need to see here? Divine, what do our Taurus friends need? We got 2 for Taurus. Okay. Oh. Okay. So you got the 10 of Wands, which is burdened. You've been under a burden. You can see the picture of this guy, right? You see him there? This heavy burden, carrying this heavy burden. And let's see what the ego is going to say. So reflect on your friendships. Maybe there's people in your life, so-called friends, where you felt like a victim. Victimized by your friends, or your friends are victims. Okay, let's see what the ego's got to tell. What's the ego? The ego is telling Taurus. Okay. Okay. Anyway, you've got the 6 of Swords here. So during this period of time, you're moving away. You're moving away from difficulties, right? It's a rite of passage. You're leaving some friends behind. And it's also about hopes and dreams. So maybe some hopes and dreams are no longer aligned with you, right? What baggage are you carrying? Because you got that 10 of Wands. Maybe you're carrying this baggage for your friends. It's your network of people, right? The group of people that you hang out with. And then the ego card, you got the know-it-all. The know-it-all. Projectors know this. Right? The Taurus projectors know this. The people that refuse to listen, right? Refuse to listen to any kind of guidance, right? I know it all. That's the ego. Right? This is and maybe you've been experiencing this with your friends, like tippy-toeing around them, especially if you're a projector, right? And you got those friends that are, I know everything. I don't need your help. I got it all together. And clearly they don't, right? Clearly they don't. By the fruits, you'll know them, right? So refusing to listen to any help or support, and no room for guidance, right? When the mind is full. And just because it's in the 11th house, this has like been a burden for you, holding on to this burden, right? Making you like not enthusiastic, not wanting to isolate, right? Isolate with this pattern, blocked, right? Working so hard, it's not reciprocated. The energy's not reciprocated with your friends. And Venus here is like, it's time to move on. It's time to go into better waters. And this is about value. Like, go back to Taurus or Aries, about valuing yourself, valuing your energy, valuing your time. Yeah. And then let's bring it back to you too, and to ask yourself where you're not listening. Maybe you're not listening to your intuitive guidance that's coming through. To look at that too, because that, like I said in the beginning of the video, this ego wants you in victim, right? And it would be like, nobody likes me, nobody listens to me, right? I have to do everything myself. There's no support for me, you know? It's to let this go. It's about watching the tape loop in your head, remember? Creating that relationship between you, right? Between you and that ego. You and the ego. You and the ego. You're not your ego. Watching what's coming out of that ego's mouth, right? What victim stories are you listening to? And it's around your friendship and your network of people that you're hanging out with, right? And this ego wants you isolated. The ego wants you separate, right? That's the traditional ruler of Aquarius. Aquarius rules the 11th house, you know? It's all about friendship and connection with other people. Yeah. So letting go of this. This is a victim card, right? This burdened, overwhelmed by hard work. Yeah. And Taurus can get very limited anyway. The archetype of Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, right, can get very limited with the bull, right, with their blinders on, limited in their view, right? I know everything. So look at it like that, right? And if you're seeing that on the reflection, well, I see that with my friends, but I don't see it with me. We'll take it inside because it's a mirror. It's a reflection. And to work through this shadow of victim, right, is to go through that emotional body. Like what feelings, Taurus, are coming up for me around my friends, like who I'm surrounded by right now, you know? How do I feel? Do I feel free? Right? Do I feel free when I'm with these people? Or do I feel like I'm a victim and they're a victim and I got to feed their victim story and I got to share my victim? I'm blaming and complaining all the time. That's a sign, right? This is the gate of the spirit. Do these people have the right spirit for you? Because remember too that this is part of Taurus. This is part of the 5539. That's the channel. It's the channel of romance, but it's the channel of provocation right here, right? So it's about triggering the spirit of other people, triggering other people emotionally. Do they have the right spirit for me? Right? Do they have the right spirit for me? And so maybe you've been going through this as a Taurus, right? Who has been going out of my life? Who's been coming in, right? Who's been coming in? Because you're here to teach people about valuing yourself. Yeah. So that's what I see with Venus here. Venus is helping you move out of these difficult waters and these certain types of friends that you've been attracting in your life, to bring up these old emotional wounds, right, from childhood here, so that you can get back to the energy vibrational. Yeah. 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 Okay. So remember, the complaining, blaming can be judging other people too. Do not go there. And the judgment is all about avoiding the deeper feelings from the 0 to 7-year-olds. Okay. So the question is, where do I not feel free in my relationships and especially my friendships? Where don't I feel free as a Taurus? And dig out the story, right? Because this ego is telling you a story about what it's seeing out there, the commentary, what it's seeing out there. It doesn't know anything. This ego does not know anything, right? Your wisdom is here, your greater self, where you're free. And then you get to see the pattern. Oh, I have this type of friend that's the know-it-all, doesn't want my help, doesn't value me, because it's to bring up these old wounds, right? From the 0 to 7-year-old, these old wounds, so I can feel them. And then I don't need to attract friends like that to me anymore. Yeah. So it's about letting go of the 10 of Wands, which means ending the burden, moving on to better waters, right? And being free. Okay. Okay, so let's go. That's Taurus. Anything else for Taurus? Oh, that's it. Okay. Let's go for Gemini. Gemini, rising sun or moon. So if you just jumped on, go to the beginning to learn more about this shadow pattern, the 55, Venus in the 55, the shadow of victim. Okay. And that's going to be in your 10th house. So let me just get some cards here. So with Gemini, you've got the Venus and the 55 until January 31st. And it's in your 10th house, which is your vocation, your career. It's also father, can represent the father, or a father figure in your life. Well, let me just get some cards so we can get focused here. Okay. Okay. So Gemini, rising sun or moon. You can also go into sacrifice, right? Trying to be the savior for a father figure in your life, or sacrificing yourself. The lower frequency meaning of sacrifice is sacrificing a part of your authenticity, right? For a father figure for your career, because you've been taught, you've been conditioned that that's what you have to do. Okay. What do we got for our Gemini friends here? And this one too. Okay. Others are positive. Okay. Okay. So it sounds like Gemini's has been going through a lot. Like all of us. The ego. Because you've got the star card. Right, the star card, major arcana, and this is the star comes after the tower card. So it's healing, it's faith, it's hope around your career, Gemini. It's offering you a blessing around your soul purpose. Okay, what is the ego telling Gemini? What's the ego telling Gemini? Okay. Okay, sounds like Gemini wants to move on in terms of their career, to make a big shift in their career and their soul purpose. But there's this victim consciousness that you have to let go of, Gemini, right? So you got the star card, so this is healing. It's to have faith and hope that wishes are arriving, whatever you've been wishing upon a star, right? The divine is coming through with it. This is a really positive card. And it says that you've been healing. You may have been healing your father issues too. So anytime you have issues with career, right, you have to go back to your father. That's the origins, right? It's your emotional relationship with your father, like healing that. So this is about aiming high, not going into victim and settling for less, right? Not feeling that the divine is going to follow through on, like believing that the divine won't follow through on you, especially if you had a father that didn't follow through. He didn't keep his promises. He wasn't there for you. He wasn't there to protect you. This stuff can come up around your career, right, Gemini? So it's about trusting the future, right? It's about trusting that this is your time to shine. That's what Venus is showing you here. Your time to shine here in the 10th house. And then you've got the 3. The 3 there, that's the Empress card, right? This is the divine feminine. It's about magnetism. So it's Venus. This Venus rules this, the Empress. So to me, it's not about hustling and hassling. It's all coming through. It's all coming through for you. All you have to do is stay in your radiance. That means to be grounded in the self, trusting, right? It's the divine feminine, just bringing everything to you. That's Venus. Attracts everything to you that you need. Yeah, to trust that. So it's about trusting your creativity, right? And grounding. The Empress knows how to take care of herself, so it's about grounding your energy, especially in nature, right? So creativity is really key for you to your freedom, right? This gift of freedom in the 10th house. Yeah. Okay. And then the ego. The ego, what does the ego have to say? The ego is never there for help. Right? It's a trap. These are ego traps. So what's the ego telling you, Gemini? What would other people think? Right? What would other people think? Right? You got to be, you know, what the ego will say. Well, you got to be realistic, right? You got to settle for second best. You're lucky you've got a job. Don't dream big, right? Be happy with what you have. Don't aspire for something greater. This is fearing judgment. What will other people think of me? What will my family think? What will my friends and community think if I did this? If I really brought in this divine feminine energy, and it's like I'm trusting that it's coming through. It's coming to me, right? What would you do, right? You're worried about what other people think of you. It's like this is a big thing we've got to let go of too. That's part of the codependency shadow. It's the fear of judgment of others. And so I would look to your father. Now the 10th house could be also your mother, just because it's the Empress card here. Right? It can switch. Sometimes the father is more nurturing and more 4th house, and the mother is more 10th house. So look at that, because that's really who you're really. Maybe you're worried that what will my partner think, right? But you got to go back to the big kahunas, and the big kahunas are mother and father, right? That's the source of it, fearing their judgment and their rejection. But otherwise, I mean, it looks good. So dig up the victim story that you've been telling yourself. And it's going to be, what would other people think? I can't let my father down. I can't let my mother down. You know? Yeah. Okay. So anything else for Gemini in the 10th house? Yeah. It's about shining your light. That's the 10th house is the top, right? The top of the chart. Shining your light. And it's going to bring you freedom. What you're really longing for, Gemini, is that freedom. Okay. What do we got here? Let's get this up here so we can see. Okay. So anything else for Gemini? That's it for Gemini. So let's go for Cancer. So Cancer has the shadow of victim, Venus in the shadow of victim moving through your 9th house. So if you've just jumped on, be sure to go back to the beginning to learn more about the shadow pattern. So the 9th house is about the stories. It's the stories you're telling yourself, the stories that you're creating, right, for your future, and your beliefs. It's about your beliefs, too, the 9th house. So you want to dig up where you don't feel free in your life. Where do I not feel free in my life? Right? Well, there's a belief underneath that. There's a belief where you're buying into the belief that you're a victim. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm just picking some cards to get focused here. So what do our Cancer friends need to see? What do our Cancer friends need to see for Venus? What do our Cancer friends need to see for Venus? That one's screaming. That one right there. Oh. Okay. Okay. So you've got the Queen of Wands, and that's part of the big reading for everybody was the Queen of Wands on top here. But I feel like it has a different meaning for you. I'm going to go into that for Cancer in the 9th house. So the Queen of Wands, in terms of a person, is confident and bold, right? A mover and a shaker, right? Queen of Wands. But the shadow side of the Queen of Wands is superficial and wears a mask. And that's where my eye is going to here. Okay. What's the ego trap for Cancers? What's the ego trap for Cancers? Okay. Let's see what we got going on here. So wearing a mask. So the belief, Cancer, sun, rising, or moon, that you have to wear a mask, right? And why do people wear a mask? Because they want to hide their vulnerability. They want to hide this 0 to 7 year old hurt, right? Yeah. So incredibly superficial. So this could have been taught to you, if we want to go to the emotional root, because we want to go to the emotional source here of the victim, is the belief that you can't be yourself, right? That I just can't be myself. The belief could be like, people won't love me if they saw the real me, because you may have been rejected, right? 0 to 7 years old, because that's where the wound goes back to. That I have to wear a mask. I have to wear a mask that it looks like I have everything together, right? I'm a success. I dress like I'm a success, but meanwhile, what's really going on is there's a deep wound that you're compensating for, right? And then the ego card, you got the depression card, right? So running away from this depression by wearing this mask. Right? Behind closed doors, you're like in the fetal position. You got no energy, black clouds over your head. And then in your public life, you're like Queen of Wands, right? I'm wearing the mask. I have it all together. But the thing is, when you're living a lie, because that's a lie, pretending you're out of integrity, Cancer, right? And Cancers are deep feelers anyway, right? And sensitive. That when they're living this lie and they're out of integrity, they're not expressing what's really going on inside them. It's really difficult to hold that down because it's not natural. And we're going into the Aquarian age, and you're not going to be able to hide anymore, Cancer. You're not going to be able to hide anymore. And that's why you may be exhausted. It's exhausting to be in this. Because what is depression? I'm holding down this energy. That wants to move, right? It's emotional energy. It's anger, right? It's anger that wants to move. So it's turned inside. So the thing about authenticity is people are going to start to their hunger for authenticity right now. They're hungry for truth, because the Piscean age has all been this illusion. It's all been about being rewarded by wearing a mask, pretending that you're someone that you're not, that was rewarded. So you may be stuck in a rut, right? There's a tantrum energy here, right? It's a loss, some loss that you experienced from 0 to 7 years old. And you may have, well, that doesn't make sense. It's really, I know what it's about, Cancer may be saying to me. My husband dumped me, right? Didn't want to be with me. We got a divorce. Like, we use that as an example. That's what it's really about. I'm not over this loss yet. Well, you got to rewind, because that's not the source. That's the echo. The divorce is an echo of a time where you felt abandoned, right? A time where you felt rejected, and it goes back to the 0 to 7 years old. Until you do this work, you're going to track this patterns. This is about pattern recognition over and over and over and over again until you heal it. And what does it mean to heal it? It means to go through that emotional body. It means to feel it, to let it in, let the depression in, right? Let it move. Stop trying to pretend that everything's okay, Cancer, because it's not, right? Yeah. And so this is the fear of freedom, right? It's the gift of freedom. The shadow of victim. It's like, I'd rather be here, right? I know this place. I know this place, especially, right, 0 to 7 years old. It's been with me for so long. I know this feeling of depression. But I'm really afraid of this, freedom. Isn't that crazy that we're afraid? We're afraid to be free. Because freedom is like freedom from the known, right? Freedom from, like, I know what depression feels like, right? That feels safe to me. But I don't know this unknown, right? So it's freedom from the known, moving into the unknown, right? So that's what I see there. And so, if this resonates with you, it's to stop. It's to stop. I'm not gonna hide from this depression anymore. I'm gonna feel it. I'm not gonna wear the mask anymore. I'm gonna let people know, people that are close to me, and to feel this. And you may be saying, well, I don't really feel anything, but that's a feeling. It's about being patient with yourself, right? And letting it come up, like giving it permission. This is the emotional work that we have to do right now. In Cancer, you're at the forefront because you're a Cancer. You're ruled by the moon. It's all about emotions for you. This stuck in a rut, pretending you got it all together is not going to help. It's not going to help you in your spiritual journey. So there you got Venus there in the 9th house because it's affecting your worldview, right? Because we see what we feel, whatever we're feeling. This is what the 55 is teaching us. That's what we see. That's what we see in the world. And it's affecting your belief system, Cancer. That's what I see there. And Venus will help you, right, until January 31st to dig up this victim, right? Because it's keeping you from your greatness. Okay. Is that it for Cancer? Yeah, I think that's it for Cancer. Okay. So let's go for Leo. Sun, Moon, or Rising. And for Leo, the shadow of victim is in your 8th house. In the 8th house. And what did I say about that? Which is intense. So let me just get some cards here. So if you haven't watched the beginning, go back to the beginning to learn more about this Venus in the 55. And so it's digging out this consciousness of victim where you don't feel free in terms of, could be debt, because the 8th house rules debt. It's other people's money. Maybe your partner, right? There's a codependent relationship with your partner. Or if you're not in a partnership, you have that codependency. I need somebody else to survive. It could be obsessions, feeling victimized by your obsessions. An obsession is something that's you feel is controlling you, right? Again, it's a challenging house, like Aries, right? With this shadow pattern in the 12th house. So it can bring up shame. What do we got for our Leo friends? What do our Leo friends need to see? What do our, for this Venus in the 55? Oh, okay. This is good news. So you got the Fool card, which makes sense because it's an endings and a beginnings card. An endings and beginnings house too, the 8th house. Digging up something. This is psychological, right? It's ruled by Scorpio. It's like going deep, deep inside your psyche to dig out this victim, right? Yeah. You can even feel victimized by curses, right? Evil, like feeling victimized by evil or some kind of darkness. It's really dark, right? The 8th house. Okay. But debt's really coming up. Debt. Okay, so what's the ego trap here? Let's see what the ego trap. What's the ego trap for Leo? What's the ego trap for Leo? Is it that one? Yep. We want to do 2. Okay. Okay, so it can bring up shame, right? And powerlessness to the 8th house. It's about death, right? It's delving into the unknown, which that makes sense with that Fool card. So not feeling free in this 8th house, right? Not feeling free there. And then you got rejection. So feeling rejected. That's one of the 6 primal wounds of humanity is rejection. And then the no accountability, what the ego, Leo, what the ego is telling you, right? That voice in your head that you believe is you. So feeling rejected by others. So in terms of if you're running a business, it's other people, right? It's other people. So it could be your clients. It's receiving money from other people, right? So feeling rejected. And then the no accountability. And no accountability is, right, finances again. So refusing to apologize. The ego won't let you apologize. The ego won't let you take responsibility for your mistakes, and this keeps you in a victim consciousness. That I had nothing to do with this, right? That's what the ego will tell you. I had nothing to do with this. Life's unfair, right? Those people don't deserve this. I deserve this. It's just, but I've been dealt a bad set of cards, right? Because the ego doesn't want you to learn and grow through this experience. So this is about accountability, is about becoming a spiritual adult here. Right, and this is about starting new. This is the first card of the major arcana. Yeah, so going on a new adventure, a new beginning with this 8th house. Let me see here with victimized in the 8th house. I mean, that's such an 8th house thing, isn't it? Feeling like a victim. And shadow. Rules shadow too. Mysteries. Yeah. I just want to do one more card. One more card. For Leo. Okay. We needed another card for clarity for Leo. Okay. Because it's very karmic too, the 8th house is very karmic. Okay. What do Leos need to hear? What do Leos need to hear? So for clarity. Clarity for my Leo friends, please. Okay. Okay. So there's healing, right? The 8th house is all about transformation and healing. And receiving help from others. Just because there's this rejection card. It's so the thing with rejection, the wound of rejection, right, is rejecting others before they reject you, right? And it's about rejecting yourself too, rejecting your wounded self. These are deep wounds, the 8th house. So I feel like Venus is going to really dig up this victim, this wounded self from childhood, right? That feels so wounded and rejected and abandoned by you. The thing with, and I talk about this in my program, is there's a child within us that never grows up, And they act in so the child is like this entity inside you that never grows up. It's a wounded child until you attend to it, right? And then it transforms, because this is the 8th house. It transforms into the divine child, the divine child. So until then, it's actually your wounded child self that's creating your experiences, emotionally creating your experiences so that you can attend to it. This is why it's so important to do emotional purification work right now. And it's really the inner child. If we were to give it a form, it's that 0 to 7-year-old, right? It's the purification work. So this is telling me that you need to take accountability for this child, right? Your child self, your wounded child self, and not expecting others. This is the house of codependency too, right? Not expecting others to attend to your own wounded inner child, you know? And a lot of us do that when we're not conscious, right? We project, I want somebody else to take care of this wounded child. I don't want to take care of it. And then they form partnership in this way. This is 8th house, marriage, right? So that's what this is saying, that Venus is going to really dig this up, right? To let go of this victim consciousness so that you can be free, right? You can be free with this Fool card, your new journey, empowered. Okay. And so this is about growing up, Leo, right? Becoming a spiritual adult now. Not be so, rejection. It goes back to this 43, right? The 43, right there. There's a fear of rejection there. And then the 49 too. There's a fear of rejection. That's going through mutation too. And that comes off the solar plexus. That's Aquarius though, so Venus won't be hitting that. Where was I going with that? So rejection, so you're not reacting emotionally, right? So again, Leo, look at your pattern. It's about releasing these victim patterns, going into this space, right? So that you can observe the ego. What's your ego telling you? What expectations does your ego have when it comes to relationships, right? What are you expecting from that other person? And the thing is, you won't get it, right? You won't get it because you're not going to heal if you get it. You're not going to heal. You're not going to complete. This is about completing your childhood, this 8th house and these cards here. Yeah. Is to give yourself. So here's the thing, is if you're feeling this disappointment or I'm feeling rejected, I'm feeling abandoned by other people, is to go into like, what are the thoughts that are coming up with ego thoughts, and where do I feel rejected, and what did I expect from that other person? Oh, I expected that other person would listen to me, right? Would listen to me, take the time to listen to me, and they said they didn't have any time, they were too busy, and they rejected me. Well, you got to go back to like, what did I expect? Oh, I expected to be listened to and just to be comforted. And then you give that to yourself, right? You give that to yourself. So it's about taking accountability for your emotional self. That's what these cards are saying, right? Make that commitment, right? To be emotionally accountable to yourself. Okay. And this is going to free you up, right? That's what I feel here with this Fool card. It's going to totally free you up. This is the old way, right? This is the old way for you. Yeah. Not expecting other people to take care of your wounds. Yeah. Anything else for Leo? And free in the 8th house. And then you won't be needing to attract this rejection and abandonment over and over and over again. And it can come through money too, because it's the 8th house, but it goes right back to your childhood and your relationship with your mother and your father, right? It's just money plays that part for you, plays the role of mother and father. Okay, that's it for Leo that I have here. Hopefully that made sense for people. That was just a rigmarole there. Again, it's like the 12th house, right? The 8th house. It's another dark portal, right? It's a portal. So it's a death and rebirth that the Leo is going to go through. But you've got Venus there that's going to really help you. Yeah. To shine light in that area where you don't feel free, right? Where you don't feel free. Okay. So let's go for Virgo. Sun, moon, or rising. And of course, that's in the 7th house. So Virgo's feeling like a victim in their relationship. Feeling victimized in their relationship. Blaming and complaining. So if you don't know, if you haven't watched the beginning, watch the beginning to learn more about this shadow pattern. And maybe you're in this habit of complaining about your partner, Virgo, because Virgo can see flaws in everything. Right? That's where they're very, very good at seeing flaws, the Virgo. Yeah. Which is good in a way, but not when it's focused on people, especially your partner and your loved ones, right? So where don't you feel free in your relationships? Virgo? Moon, sun, or rising? Okay. What do our Virgo friends need to see? What do our Virgo friends need to see? That one right there. Oh, there's a repeat one. I think Gemini had this. So it's the Star card. So whatever you've been going through around your relationships, Virgo, is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. There's some deep healing that you've done. Okay, let's see what the ego is saying, and we'll put this all together. Okay, because you got the Star card, so that's the healing card. What is the Virgo? What do our Virgo friends need to hear about the ego? Oh. Okay. So you got the secrecy card, the secrets card there, and then the Star card. Yeah. So there's a renewed sense of hope and faith that can come during this time period from January 26th to the 31st around your relationships. Yeah. And there's a deep, deep healing that's occurred for you. Sometimes we don't know how much we've healed until you catch the pattern. Remember, pattern recognition here, right? Is when you're in that space of freedom, right? Feeling free from your relationships. Sometimes you'll just notice something within yourself, right? It's like the old me would have completely reacted to this differently. But the new me doesn't do that. Isn't that interesting? Well, that's a sign that you're healing. You're becoming more whole and you're integrating, you know? Yeah. So you've got a renewed sense of hope and faith right now in terms of your relationship, right? So let's see secrets. So maybe you've kept this a secret, right? This complaining and blaming. That's the shadow of a victim here. Complaining and blaming. Maybe not really expressing this to your partner. Maybe expressing it to all your friends and anybody that will listen. Complaining and blaming about your partner, right? But not actually confronting your partner. You see, the ego will want you do that because to empower yourself and to confront your partner, well, things would start to change, wouldn't they? Right? If you're complaining and blaming with all your friends, and they're complaining and blaming about their life too and feeding your victim, there's no change. And where do you stay? You stay in that victim consciousness. It's not a very empowered place to be. So that's where the ego could really just keep it a secret, right? He'll never change. Why bother saying anything? That's a disempowered state of consciousness, Virgo, right? So you need to get out of victim is to know I have a choice, right? I have a choice right now. I always have a choice. The victim consciousness will say you got no choice, and then makes up a bunch of stories about, well, the partner will do this and the partner will do that. It's make a baby step. I'm going to express what's going on for me with my partner. Maybe set a boundary, right? Virgo. So this gives the ego a sense of power and control, keeps you in victim consciousness, disempowered, keeps you in shadow of victim, right? Yeah. So that's what I see with the secrets here with your partner. And this card is saying, no, you have power. That's what the star is saying. What you've been wishing for, what you've been hoping for, maybe with your relationship, it's coming true, right? But you can't go into the secret energy. Shadow loves to be in the dark, right? And in secrecy, thrives there. So it's trusting in the future with your relationships. Yeah. And that you're not a victim, that you're free, right? So what would that, so look at where you don't feel free in your relationships and know that you have a choice. Well, but you're Michael, I don't know what I would do. Like, you listen, you stop and you listen. I don't feel free in my relationship, right? And then you listen for guidance, right? How can I feel free in this relationship? And then you'll be given some guidance, right? Deep within. And then you can move out of it. But this is the potential for healing. It's the gate of spirit, right? It's the gate of filling yourself with spirit. And then you get out of the secrecy energy. And remember, just because I'm a broken record, is to go back to childhood. This is where all these patterns get laid down, these emotional patterns, 0 to 7 years old, right? Where you had to keep secrets, right? Where you couldn't say. 0 to 7 years old, I felt powerless. That's the thing, right? Go back to your partnership. How do I feel? Even like letting it in. Maybe you've got a partner that's quite dominant. How do I feel with setting a boundary with this partner? Well, I feel powerless. And we'll go deeper. I feel afraid, right? I feel afraid. Maybe I'm afraid that it'll hurt me, or I'm afraid he'll reject me or something. Well, that emotional pattern is going to be an echo from the 0 to 7 years old. That's how you felt when you were 0 to 7 years old, right? With a parent and setting boundaries. So that's when the secrecy energy came in. I can't stand up to my parent because you were a little tiny tot, 0 to 7 years old. You had no power then, right? So it's bringing up these old wounds. But the people that do, in my life, that do start standing up for themselves, they're amazed at their partner. They come back to me. I can't believe how easy that was. And he changed. He just completely accepted. Oh, of course I'll do that. I didn't know. I'm sorry I didn't know that. I wish you would have told me earlier, right? So it's about not listening to that ego, Virgo, right? Telling you this, they can't do that, and victimizing them, that other person. Just keep the focus on you. Bring it back to you, right? Empower yourself and not get attached to the outcome. Well, what if? Don't even go to what if he did this and what if he did that. It's like just you. Your lesson is to be in the truth in each and every moment. You like your truth and to speak your truth. Don't go into secrecy. Yeah, that will move you out of victim. And then you're free, right? And the thing is, once we start really standing up and asserting ourselves and doing this inner child work, it gets stronger and stronger each time you do it. Stronger and stronger, and the confidence builds. Yeah. That's positive for the Virgos. I feel positive for the Virgos. So let's go for the Libras here. Libra, Sun, Moon are rising. And for you, it's in the sixth house. So that you could be feeling victimized by your health, right? The sixth house is health. Or your job, what you're doing, the day-to-day work. Okay. Let's just get some cards for Libra here. And so if you just jumped on, be sure to go back to the beginning. I'm going to timestamp this to learn more about this victim shadow pattern that Venus is moving through. And remember, Venus is there to help you, Libra. Dig this up. And we all have the victim consciousness because we're all human. We all share this. So maybe your health isn't doing great, right, Libra? And you're feeling victimized by your health, by your body. Okay, what do we got for our Libra friends? What do we have for our Libra friends? What do our Libra friends need to see? That one right there. Oh, good news. Good news for Libra. Let's see what the ego is saying. So you got the 21. Leo got the Fool card, right? But you got the 21. That's the end of the major arcana. This is a cycle of destiny, right? Is ending for the sixth house, where you feel victimized by your health, by your work, by some kind of conflict in your life. Because it can be enemies too, the sixth house, like enemies, an arch nemesis. Right? And again with karma, right? Karma. We don't understand, we don't get the whole story, but if it's like really intense, an intense relationship with someone, it's like, why does that person like drive me crazy? Or why are they at me? Why don't they just leave me alone? Why do they hate me so much? Well, it's going to be karmic, and it's going to come from your past life, and probably you were doing the same thing to them in past life. So that's saying that it's coming to an end, Libra. And what's the ego telling Libra, please? That one. Okay. Okay. So it's relationships. Right? Could be your mental health too. The sixth house rules your mental health. It's healing. It's your service, how you serve, right? And it's your enemies, conflicts. You may be going through a court case or something like that too. Debt. Sixth house is debt. And so you got the people pleaser card right there, the ego. And the ego, and this is so Libra, right? Because Libra has two sides to themselves, because they're the relationship card, right? It rules the seventh house. And they don't always tell you what's really going on in their mind, because they're listening to this ego, right? So there's like two sides of them. And one side is the people pleaser. I'm just going to tell them, that's what the ego is telling. Just tell them what they want to hear. Right? Don't get into conflict. Keep the peace. Keep the peace. And it's a manipulative tactic, right? In terms of your relationship. That's what the ego is telling you. And it keeps you in victim. Because when you leave that other person, because you've been listening to this ego, and this is how the ego tag teams, right? Especially with Libra. I'm seeing this. Right? Just tell them what they want to hear. Just tell them what they want to hear. Right? And then you go, and that same ego is in your ear again, saying, oh, they don't really care about you, right? They don't listen to you. You do all the listening, and you bolster them up, and they don't give the same thing back to you. And it's the same ego playing you back and forth. Be the people pleaser. Tell them this, tell them that, bolster them up. It will give you love. You'll get something back from it, right? And then the same ego saying they don't listen to you and you shouldn't have done this, and it's the same voice Do you see how it plays you, Libra? And it's a manipulative tactic from the ego. Yeah. So in terms of the people pleasing, it's about your sense of self-worth, right? And again, like Virgo, your only job is to be in truth, right? To speak the truth, to vibrate the truth. Yeah. And to look at this pattern, because the pattern is going to go back to your childhood, the 0 to 7 years old. Like, where were you taught to be the people pleaser? This is victim consciousness, is the people pleasing, because you feel like maybe you got no control over it. Well, it's just how I relate to people. It goes so deep. Well, you got to dig it up. The 0 to 7 years old, right? You were taught this. You were conditioned to be this. This is a not self. This is an identity. Well, I'm a Libra. I get along with everybody, right? I'm the relationship sign. And then meanwhile, I'm so resentful when I'm away from people. I go back and forth. What's this about? Because it's you're not self. You're not being authentic and true, right? So what you're really seeking, right, to go back to childhood stuff, childhood, 0 to 7 years old, what's their currency? 0 to 7-year-old doesn't care about money. They don't care about money. They don't care about toys and things. Their currency is love, right? Unconditional love. That's what the 0 to 7-year-old wants, just unconditional love. Acceptance. I'm okay. I'm loved. I feel like I belong in this family. I feel like I belong on this earth plane. That's their currency, is love. So you don't get it because we live in the hospital plane, like everybody's under this conditioning field, right? Which is conditioning us to be our non-self. The parent can't give what they don't have, right? They don't have unconditional love. They didn't get unconditional love either, right? So they can't give it to you. So what happens are these identities get formed, right? These identities get formed, and then the people pleasing starts. Well, I notice if I give my mother all this attention and I feed her victim story, she gives back to me. She gives me attention, right? And the attention is not it's not unconditional love. It's just attention, but that's all you know. Attention means love. I get attention from my mother. She ignores me any other time, but I get attention from my mother. Well, then this works. This people pleasing works. And then you bring it into your adult relationships, right? But then you get resentful because you're being played by this ego. It's not real. So you want to start giving that to yourself, right? You want to give that to yourself. And to me, with the 6th house here, it's affecting your health, right? So remember, even our health problems can be rooted back to this emotion, the emotional root right here is our health problems. Maybe your health problems have been up for you, right? And Venus is going to help you dig out this victim consciousness, because even this is how crazy the ego can be. You can create some kind of health crisis, or 6th house, right? Crisis, to get that attention from other people. That's the inner child. Well, I got attention when I'm sick. This is really deep, right, in the subconscious. I get attention, right? When I got sick when I was 0 to 7 years old, I got the attention from my mother or my father, right? They ignored me any other time, but they really paid attention to me when I was sick, right? With the 6th house. Well, you want to dig up that victim, and you'll actually create it as an adult. It's real. It becomes real, right? Because this is your belief. Yeah. So what you're really seeking is unconditional love, Libra, but you can only give it to yourself, right? And this will pull you out of this victim consciousness, right? And then this major arcana is saying, yeah, I'm done with this. Venus is going to help you I'm done with this, right? Whatever this was. The people pleasing didn't work for me in the 6th house, right? Because you'll attract people that will not be fooled by this people pleasing. They'll be able to see right through it, that it's phony, right? You're being a phony Libra. Yeah. So something's coming to a completion. So it can get played out in a workplace, like losing a job or something, right? Because remember what I talked about, that our workplace, we really have no choice of who we're with. It's not like a dating thing. Well, I don't like this person, so I'm not going to date them again. With a workplace, you don't really have control, right? Those people are there. Unless you're the boss, you can fire them. And even then, there's laws to prevent that. You can't just say, I don't like somebody because they trigger me, right? So this could be coming to an end too, like a workplace connection where you're working, or an enemy is finally like leaving, right? That's what it's saying, that some cycle is ending for you. Yeah. And this people pleasing's ending for you. You know? This identity. Yeah. So don't be afraid. An identity is leaving. That's okay. It's just a role that you played in this lifetime. You know, and you'll be able to help other people. You'll be able to see other people doing the same. Oh, I notice this dynamic now in this other person. They're people pleasing. What do they really want? What are they really trying to express? You know? And then freedom. This is freedom. Yeah, ready for the next phase. Yeah. And it's Saturn. Yeah, so it's about your life. You're going to see it in the world. Yeah. Okay, that's for Libra. That's for Libra. And we got Virgo. We'll go for Scorpio. We'll go for Scorpio. So it's in your 5th house, Scorpio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So the shadow of victim is in your 5th house. And so if you just jumped on, go back to the beginning to learn more about this shadow pattern, Venus in the 55. And it's going to be there until the 31st. So it's all about digging up that victim consciousness. This is about your evolution, Scorpio. So this could be around your children if you've got a child. And the great thing about Venus is it will help. It will help you out, right? Okay, so it's also about your inner child. It's about it's about self-love. Right? So where don't you feel free in that area? Creativity, romance, self-expression, how you relax. Let's see. We got some cards here. So you may feel victimized by your children, by your lack of creativity, lack of fun. That's the fun house. Okay, what do our Scorpio friends need to see? What do our Scorpio friends need to see? That one right there. Okay. It looks like Scorpio has been using work. Hard work. Yeah. Too much work, not enough play, Scorpio. It's entertainment, right? The 5th house. Okay, what's the ego telling Scorpio? What's the ego telling Scorpio or Scorpio friends? Oh, I want to take 2. Okay. So you got the Knight of Pentacles right there, the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles is not the fun guy, right? Not the fun guy. Knight of Pentacles is showing up at work, 9 to 5, the 9 to 5 grind, right? It's about hard work. It's about being consistent. So he's got the pentacle, right? So it's the material world. So maybe you're too focused on money, right? In your material world, not having fun and feeling victimized by that. Like I can't have fun. I have to be reliable. I have to be consistent. And it's boring, right? The Knight of Pentacles is boring. You're not going to go out with the Knight of Pentacles and have some laughs, right? But the Knight of Pentacles is the one that if you need a job done, you call them up, right? So maybe you've got a Knight of Pentacles because the royal cards can also represent a person. So maybe your partner, your romantic partner you're dating is too much of a Knight of Pentacles, like no fun. And maybe feeling victimized by that. And then for the ego card, you got the Who's Your Daddy? And this is about choosing your ego instead of the divine. So having faith in your ego. And remember, you can only serve one master. That's what this card is saying, Scorpio. So you're either serving this guy who's always offering you power. That's the temptation of Scorpio, is I want more power, which is money, power together. Or am I going to listen to the divine and my intuition? So it also says that it's the dark night of the soul, too. Test for Scorpio. That could be happening, too, for you. And then the other card is tit for tat. The tit for tat card. So you owe me, right? You owe me with a romantic partner or a child too, your child. And just because it's the inner child, it can go back to a dynamic in your childhood. So this is keeping score, right? Keeping score. With that Knight of Pentacles and feeling victimized there. In the 5th house. Let's see. I just want to get one more card, Scorpio. Let's see. What do the Scorpios need to see? Some more clarity. More clarity, please, for the Scorpios. Can you give me more clarity? More clarity right there. That star card again. This is the 3rd time in a row we got that card in this reading. So it's having faith. So having faith in the divine, not having faith in this ego. And, yeah. Yeah. I feel, Scorpio, this goes back to your childhood, that wound from 0 to 7 years old, right? So we're evolving through the emotional body, Scorpio. This is about relaxation. So not being able to relax because you feel like you have to be this Knight of Pentacles, you know? And it's around your relationship with your child or the person that you're dating right now, right? Yeah. So feeling like you got to keep score. You got to keep score tit for tat. You know, these are the people that they give you something, right? They give you something, but it comes with a big rope attached. This is the tit for tat. You did this. Okay, I did this for you. You don't remember what they paid for and what they did, but they remember. They wrote it all down, right? They bring out the receipts. I did this for you. I did this for you. They're going back maybe 6 months, and then I did this and I did that. This tit for tat, right? And now you owe me. You owe me. Yeah, and it's not very fun, right? So you may be feeling victimized by that, this tit for tat energy that the ego is. It's like the giving to take. It comes with a big string attached. But this could have come from your childhood, right? Nothing was free. Nothing was freely given. Because like I said in the other one, is the currency for the 0 to 7-year-old is the unconditional love. There's no tit for tat with unconditional love. There's no expectation back, right? So it's feeling victimized by money. That's what I see in the 5th house around dating, right? Around dating. Yeah. So you want to feel free. And it's like a wet blanket, right? Because the 5th house is fun. So it's feeling that I can't have fun because I owe this person. I owe this person my attention. I owe this person my time. I owe this person my energy. You know? That I can't relax and just have fun. Yeah. Anyway, the good news is that Venus is in there and it's going to give you renewed hope and faith around pleasure and enjoyment, right? Venus loves to be in the 5th house. It's going to show you what gives you fun, you know? Don't feel like you got to owe, that you owe somebody, right? You owe somebody that I have to give back. It's about letting yourself receive, right? Venus is very receptive and attractive, like allowing yourself to receive. Because maybe that other person isn't doing a tit for tat. This is all about you doing tit for tat. That person freely gave me something. They didn't expect anything in return, but then I'm listening to this ego. I'm feeling victimized, right? Nobody gives me anything for free. This is the belief from your childhood, you know? And so you end up feeling victimized by this relationship, right? Not being able to relax and have fun. Anyway, what it's saying is that there's going to be a deep healing with this, right? Letting go of this story, this victim story. Okay? Anything else for Scorpio? And that's a great gift to have, right? Is freedom in the 5th house. Lots of fun. Okay. Okay, so let's go for Sagittarius. The Sagittarius. Sun, Moon, or Rising. So if you just jumped on, be sure to go back to the beginning to watch what this shadow is about, the 55, and the shadow of victim and the gift of freedom. The gate of spirit. And Venus is going to be in there from January 26 to 31. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4 in your 4th house. So feeling victimized, feeling like a victim. It could be a relationship to your mother. Feeling victimized by your emotions. Feeling victimized in your home environment. That you're a victim. And remember, this is about digging up that victim consciousness, because Sagittarius, it might just not be there on the surface. What do you mean? My mother's the one that's the victim. Well, if you see the victim in others, you're going to see the victim in yourself, right? And maybe it bothers you with your mother, Sagittarius. She's such a victim. She's always complaining and blaming about something. It bugs me. Well, it bugs you because it's rubbing against your own victim, right? That you may not be aware of, but the Venus there is going to help you be aware of it. And the 4th house. So let's look at some cards for our Sagittarius friend. Our Sagittarius friends. What do we need to see for our Sagittarius friends? This one. Ooh. Okay. So you got the Queen of Swords, and you see what the ego is telling us here. And this is about setting clear boundaries. And where don't you feel free? Like, ask yourself that question, Sagittarius. Where do I not feel free in my relationship with my mother? Maybe your mother's passed, but you've got a kind of a mother figure in your life. Same frequency as your mother, but a different body, different name. Where don't I feel free with her? Okay, and what's the ego telling Sagittarius? What's the ego telling Sagittarius? Okay. So you got the Queen of Swords right there. And then you've got, for the ego trap, you got the groupthink. See them all jumping off the cliff here. So allowing others to dictate what is good. This is so perfect for the Venus, right? What is good? This is virtue signaling. This is the Venus conditioning field that we're under, right? The moral code, right? So it's promoting the judgment of what's right or wrong, setting the rules of how people should behave in society, which is all about, in this case, this is the conditioning field, so it's the 55. It's the staying victim, complain and blame, right? And to also put other people into a victim box, which may or may not be correct for you. We got to go to your own conscious Venus. So if it's 55, it's correct for you. If it's not correct for you. So this is stepping away from the group think. And the group think is this conditioning field, right? Billions and billions and trillions of neutrinos coming at us every day, every moment. You know, subatomic particles that carry information. This is the conditioning field that pulls us away from our authenticity, right? And this is listening to this. It's listening to the ego, the not self, right? So it's setting boundaries. And I feel like, just because it's the 4th house, so go to your mother, if that rings true for you. But it's also your psychological self. The 10th house and the 4th house are opposite. The 10th house is my public life, right? How other people see me. And the 4th house is like going back to your home. It's very private, right? It's your emotions, your emotional self. It's ruled by Cancer. And you've got the victim in there. So feeling victimized by your emotions, right? So not allowing yourself to get emotionally manipulated, Sagittarius, to groupthink. This is the conditioning field. Allowing others, right, the herd, to dictate what's good for you, what makes you a good person, right? Well, you're not a good person if you don't put that victim on a pedestal, because they won the Victim Olympics, right, this week. And there'll be another gold medal winner, right? The next day it will be like that. That's what we're going to start to see. You're a bad person if you don't victimize them and feel bad about yourself, you know? So this is giving up your uniqueness. It's giving up your power and your authenticity. Your authenticity is your power over to the group, right? Becoming one of the herd. So this is feeling victimized by the group think, right? And the emotional manipulation there. Because we all want to fit in. We have this longing to belong. It's part of our human nature. But we're moving away from this. The cross of the sleeping phoenix, Sagittarius, which is all about being self-reliant, finding your own answers inside and what's true for you. And there we've got the Queen of Swords. That's great to detach. You can have that objectivity, right? You can step away from the emotional manipulation and not be sucked into it, not feeling victimized by it. And this is to be independent, right? This is sharp. The Queen of Swords is sharp. A really good communicator, clear boundaries. So this is about what truth do you need to express, right? You want to cut away this victim, right? This victim consciousness from you. And so it's all about finding, not getting caught not feeling victimized by your emotions, but going into the right, attracting the right information for you to make the best decisions for you. And it's about setting boundaries, clear boundaries with this, your own emotions, not reacting to your emotions, not making your decisions from your emotions, your emotional state, because the emotions are like a wave. Sometimes they're up. That's what the 55's teaching us here. Venus in the 55. Sometimes the emotions are the high end. I'm feeling awesome. I'm feeling on top of the world. Sometimes they're the low end. I'm feeling so depressed. I'm sad, right? Sad to joy, pain and pleasure, pain and pleasure. To not get trapped making your decisions from that place. And especially if you have an open solar plexus. So if you look at your natal chart, you can go in the information box to get your free chart. If yours is open, you're going to feel the emotions of other people, right? So you don't make your decisions from that place, Sagittarius. You make them from this Queen of Swords energy. Yeah. To be free from them. So if we want to go back to the source, we've got to go back to the 0 to 7-year-old, because that's the emotional source. So yeah, I set the boundaries with this person, this kind of mother figure in my life, right? I made clear boundaries with that person, right? I'm making my decisions for my own self, not getting caught up in groupthink. I won. Yeah, I'm done. No, you got to go to the source, because this will keep repeating and repeating and repeating until you get to the source, right? That's 0 to 7 years old. And it's the 55, so it's emotional, and maybe you were to emotionally merge with the caretaker, with the mother, because it's the 4th house, and you were in like, what's my emotions, what's her emotions, and right? And that's a big trigger for you. Big trigger for you, that there wasn't a space for you, right? It was just, especially if you had a narcissist mother, right? There was no space for you. There's no sense of self at all. Like, what's me, what's that other person? Where you're going to be susceptible to this groupthink, right? So it's about going back to this child, this 0 to 7 years old, and untangle, right? It's about untangling. So untangling is just feeling, right? Feeling those emotions, and they may not even be yours. You know what I mean? Like, you may have taken on those emotions from your caretaker, from your mother, the mother figure, but it's just about feeling, right? To get clear, go through the emotional body, get clear, go to your authenticity, go to the light there, leave the ego behind and go towards the light and untangle. This is me. And this is what this Queen of Swords is telling you. This is me. It's about detaching. What else do we see? So there's a victim story, right? You're letting go. And Venus is going to help you. And you decide what your moral code is, what's right and what's wrong for you. Separate from this group thing, because this changes, right? This doesn't always stay in the 55. It's going to turn into the 37, the 22, right? The 63, right? It's going to go through all those gates. And that means that the moral code's going to change, right? So you want to go to you. You don't want to be like the jellyfish, being batted around with no sense of self, right? The cross of the sleeping phoenix is about discovering, uncovering your sense of self, your authentic self. That's what's true for you, right? That's what's going to protect you and keep you safe, is your authenticity. Okay, that's what we got for Sagittarius. And then let's go for Capricorn. The Capricorn's March 23rd. Pluto's moving out of your first house, Capricorn. That's good news for Capricorns. They're coming out completely different. Since 2008, you've probably been through the ringer. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Right? So you got the 55. Where's Capricorn? In the third house, right? So Venus in the shadow of victim in your third house. So if you just jumped on, go back to the beginning to watch more about this shadow pattern to learn more. Yeah. So third house, this is how you think. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier for Capricorn because it's in the mind, right? It rules the mind. So what are your victim stories? What are the victim stories that you're telling yourself? In terms of your thinking and your communicating, right? Are you complaining and blaming? Is your mind complaining and blaming? Okay. So what do we got for our Capricorn friends? What do we have for our Capricorn friends, please? That one right there. Screaming. Oh, yeah. I love the synchronicities. So you got the Eight of Swords, right? That is the victim card. And swords are all about our thinking. So this is victim thinking. Negative thoughts. Self-imposed restriction. And the thing with her, you can see her with the swords around her. She's got that little tied up. But you don't realize that she could break out of this. It's like a little ribbon. She could just break out of this victim prison that she's put herself in. Right? She's refusing to see. Right? She's refusing to see the truth. So self-imposed restriction. So you want to ask yourself, how do you play the victim? How do you play the victim? They're just thoughts, and remember, you're not a victim. Like I said at the beginning, watch the beginning, Capricorn, of the video, that you went through experiences. You're a spiritual being having human experiences. Where's the picture so you can see it here? You're a spiritual being having human experiences, and your human experiences do not define who you are, define your identity. So you're not a victim. They're just details of your life. And the powers that be want us identified with the details of our life, because the more and more we go into that, it's like the lower frequency of authenticity or uniqueness is to be different. I'm different than you because I have this different experience than you. We've got to go to what unifies us, right? Because what unifies us cannot be divided, right? So differences can divide us, and then we're fighting. Like, no, I want the gold medal for the Victim Olympics. No, I should get it. I should get it. I have a more horrific victim story than you. So it's not you. They're just experiences that you've gone through for a reason, for a greater purpose. And sometimes it's your soul or the divine that has to give you that information, if at all. But it's about trusting that I went through this for a reason, for a greater purpose. Okay. So let's see what the ego is telling Capricorn. Capricorns know about suffering too, right? And I understand why the victim would be so strong, right? Victim thinking. So what do our Capricorn friends, what's the ego telling our Capricorn friends, please? There you go. Oh. Okay. Okay. So this is totally, right? So third house thinking, right? Also, let's drag your siblings into. It could be siblings that you're having issues with. The ego is saying, take no accountability. Take no accountability. And that's the definition of the ego, of the victim, right? So refusing to take any responsibility. right? So the ego doesn't want you to grow up, right? Doesn't want you to grow up. This is what we're being called to do, is to complete our childhood, right? And that means to do this emotional purification work, right? Is to go through the emotional body. This is how we're evolving to spirit awareness. This is our authenticity on the other side, right? So the ego doesn't want you to take any accountability at all. It doesn't want you to know the power of your thoughts, the power of your words, right? It wants you to stay here in victim, right? So this is about you giving your power over to this, right? Giving your power over to this. That's the thinking in your head, is that voice in your head, right? That's been there since you were a childhood. You believe is you. That's the ego. Yeah. So Venus there is going to show you. It's going to make it really easy. Venus is like a nice little bonus for you, right? Where these victim thoughts are to dig. So again, it's about digging this up. Don't get caught up in the conditioning field that says that it's right for you to remain a victim. Spiritually, it's not. It's the worst thing for you, is to remain a victim. So remember, wherever you got yourself into, like whatever challenges you're into right now, what you're experiencing, I would go back to take accountability, be a spiritual adult, and go back to your thoughts. What negative thoughts what am I having about this situation? Or what did I have about this situation? Because it's created this reality. And again, Capricorn, we'll go back to your childhood, because this is the source, is this emotional imprinting that happened from 0 to 7 years old. Maybe you were taught as a child to be a victim. Maybe that was encouraged, to be a victim, right? You have some parents like that. They want one child in the family, like they're kind of the scapegoat. Oh, they're the weak one. That's the weak. Oh, Johnny, Joni, she's always sick, right? She's a sickly little child. She's always been sick. There's always something wrong with her. And then the identity gets formed, because it's all about getting love, right? Unconditional love. And there you have your parents imposing that on you, because they don't want to own their own fear of weakness, right? So they impose it on you. And then you end up taking on this identity into adulthood, right? Because that's how you got love. So you want to be letting this stuff go, this victim stuff. And it's very empowering for some people to look back and it's like, yeah, I was taught that it was good for me, that I was told me who I was. My parents told me who I was. Nobody can tell you who you are, right? Nobody. You can't even tell yourself who you are, because you're so vast, right? You're so vast as a spiritual being having human experiences. So I would look at that, right? Where have I taken on this victim identity, and what thoughts are attached to that identity? Because it's all ego, right? It's all ego. And to let that go. So Venus in there is going to free you. It's going to free you. It's going to show you, and not to attach to those thoughts, right? Sever from them. Yeah. And go back to your childhood. Who played the victim in my childhood? Where was I playing the victim in my childhood? What was I? Who did they tell me I was? Right? Is that true? Right? Is that true, or isn't it true? Right? Is to know who you are. It's very important during this time, is to know who you are, and to embrace your authenticity and your power. Venus in there. Yeah, and to break free. And it's just like a TV. That's how I look at it, right? The ego's going. We all have this crazy ego in our head. To let it go and complain and blame, but don't give it attention. Don't give it attention, and then the volume gets lower and lower and lower, right? And the negativity will just dissipate. But underneath that negativity is a lot of emotions, right? That's what we're afraid. We're afraid of feeling those emotions. Right? Like why couldn't my caretaker really see me? Right? There can be a lot of emotions there to uncover Capricorn. Capricorn's not good at emotions, but they got to get good at it, right? For this new cross of the sleeping phoenix. Okay, let's go. We've got two more, right? I always forget about Aquarius. There's Aquarius. Okay. So Aquarius is in the second house. And so if you're an Aquarius and just jumped on, go back to the beginning to learn more about this shadow pattern. So crazy here. It was so sunny, and then it was raining, and now it's clouded over. It's like our inner weather, you know, our emotional weather. So feeling victimized, Aquarius, by money. Second house is money. Self-esteem, self-value. You may be feeling victimized there. And the great thing about Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, you have the gift of detachment. That's the gift of Aquarius. So you can kind of detach, take the big view to recognize. It's all about pattern recognition. Where do I feel? Do I feel victimized by money? And that consciousness will come up when money is taken away. Okay, what do we got for Aquarius, our Aquarius friends? What's the card for our Aquarius friends? Oh, another kind of healing card. So you got the temperance card right there, the temperance card, the angel. This is about patience. It's about balance. It's about integrating different aspects of yourself. Okay, so is the second house, like money, finances, taking you out of your balance, right? It's also yin and yang energy too, the temperance card, the 14 major arcana. So your male and female energy. Second house is receptive. It's a feminine house. Second house. And what do we have for Aquarius? What's the ego telling Aquarius? This one right, yeah. Competition. Okay. Right there, competition. Yeah. Competition. In moderation, patience, balance. You know, so it's about work and rest balance too, right? And this is happiness when our energies are balanced, when our masculine and feminine energies are in balance, right? So feminine is receptive. It allows things to come to it. And then masculine, the correct masculine energy is to act from inspiration. It has to come from inspiration, not the ego. And certainly not from this competing. I have to compete. Competition. I have to compete. So I feel like it's asking you to come more into your feminine, right? That your masculine may be out of balance. And so not getting what you want, you know, because the old ways aren't working anymore. And we're going to be shown that more and more, right? As we move into the Aquarian age, the hustle and hassle and competing. We've been taught this. This is the conditioning field. Built on the ego's pride and fear, right? Competition. And this comes from a lack of bonding, Aquarius, in the family. So if you come from a big family, right, you had to compete for love. Remember, with the evolutionary pathway of awareness that we're moving into the vibrational, we got to go from the physical, mental, emotional, and down to the frequency. The 0 to 7-year-old, this is all the emotional imprinting that took place, and this follows us into adulthood in our experiences, right? So 0 to 7-year-olds, and we've taught to compete, even within our families. So there could have been that with your family, right? So what's the currency for the 0 to 7-year-old is love, unconditional love. So this is the ego. Maybe even your parents encourage this competition. Well, so-and-so got an A, you only got a C in school, right? How this identity can get formed. I've got to be always competing. This is the masculine energy. I always have to have one up, right? I've got to be at the top of I have to be one rung above this person always, right? And it keeps you, they call it progressing and improving, but it's really coming from this competition. I have to compete for love, right? So this is how it gets played as an adult, this competition with other people. And maybe with this Venus there, because Venus rules money and rules Taurus, the second house, that's not going to work for you anymore. Competition maybe did work for you, but what are you running from, Aquarius? That's what the question is. What are you running from by competing? Well, a bunch of sadness from this 0 to 7 years old. Because really what we want is we want to just be loved for who we are, our authenticity, not for what we do, but for just who we are, So this is what this is saying for Aquarius, is that there's a deep healing, and the healing is to come into balance. You're out of balance. That's what this is saying. You're too much in your masculine energy, and to let go of this competition, right? Because really, competition is like you got to just stay in your own lane. Like, how can you compete with this other person? That other person, that's them. That's their uniqueness. You can't compete with them because you're you. They can only be the best them. You can't be a better them than them, like somebody competing with you. You can only be you, right? So another person competing, it's ridiculous, right? So it's about staying in your own lane and doing this emotional work, right? Of that hurt inner child that felt like she had to compete for love, right? There wasn't enough. There's a scarcity model here too with this competition. And what brings you into peace? What brings you into harmony? And let this inner child know that, like, she's fine, she's okay, right? She's okay. That's what the inner child wants, is your attention. Yeah. To be free and to be free, right? So the lack of money or worrying about money will bring this dynamic up, right? Of the inner child not feeling like she has worth and she's got to compete. Yeah. What else for that? Yeah. And it's just about watching the pattern, right? And seeing it in action. Half of shadow work is that. It's just to be able to spot it. Oh, there it is. There's the shadow of the victim, right? Where I feel victimized. Okay. You've heard of this. People afraid to go on vacation because they feel like somebody's going to steal their job. Things like that. To let all that go, because that all goes rooted back to childhood, Aquarius. Okay, let's finish it off with Pisces. The star of the show, Pisces, because it's in your first house. Okay, so Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising. What do So if you haven't watched the beginning, go back and watch the beginning to learn more about this shadow pattern of victim and the gift of freedom. It's a really important one because this is going through a huge mutation, the 55. Right? And it's in your first house. So this is you. It's your appearance. It's how you show up in the world. Right? It's your identity. Like, right, your avatar identity. So feeling victimized by your appearance, about your identity. Right? I'm not attractive enough. This isn't perfect on me. This isn't perfect on me. Not accepting your body because the body, right? Okay, what's the ego telling Pisces? Our Pisces friends. What's the ego telling our Pisces friends, please? This one right here. Okay. So the ego card that you got is shut it down. You can see her, right? She's got the fingers in her ears. And this is about not opening your heart and going straight into judgment. It's about going cold. Going cold. And it's around the body, right? It's around the body. So feeling judged by others about your body. And refusing to feel the emotions, Pisces. So let's see what the tarot is. Okay. What do we got for Pisces? What do we have for Pisces, please? There we go. That one right there. No. Okay. Do we have another one for Pisces? Okay. Okay. So there's a victim story around your self, your body, your appearance that you need to let go of. Yeah. And to free yourself. So Venus is there, right? So it's so funny because it's going to make you more attractive, right? Because Venus attracts. It's beauty, right? So it's about seeing your beauty, right? That's what I see there. For Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising, to see your beauty and see how that victim story has been controlling you, right? So you got the Two of Swords, which is about making a choice and feeling stuck, right? Yeah. So it's time to make a decision. And again, it's about balance. This is a theme too for Pisces, balance, and we got it in Aquarius too. And then Page of Swords is curiosity. So this is the mind. Okay, so first house, feeling victimized by your appearance and your identity, feeling judged, right? Judged by others, but remember all judgment is self-judgment, so judging yourself. So we want to go back to childhood because this is the echo. Remember the Pisces, the evolutionary pathway of awareness we're moving through is physical, mental, emotional, and then back to frequency, vibrational. So we're evolving through the emotional body, and this is the 0 to 7 years old. So this gets imprinted, right? Our emotional body gets imprinted from that age. So there could have been a lot of judgment coming at you when you were a child from a caregiver. Could be your mother or your father, judging your appearance, right? And how you looked and how you appeared. So this takes on this identity of, you know, you have to look this way, right? You have to be this way. You always have to present yourself in this way, right? For fear of judgment of others. But it's really coming from, plus you got Virgo on the other end, right? In your 7th house. And that's Virgo. The shadow of Virgo can be like fault finding to a T, right? And very judgmental. The shadow of Virgo coming at you and requiring this perfectionism, like needing perfectionism, right? So this can make you shut down your heart in adulthood. And you did that as a child too, right? But that doesn't go away. All those stuck crystallized emotions are still there calling for your attention, right? So with Venus there, it's going to show you where you feel victimized by your appearance. But it's also going to show you your beauty, right? Your beauty. And this is going to free, you want to free yourself from this victim story, you know, to be okay with you and how you look and how you appear. And it's to make a decision, right? Are you going to be okay with yourself? That's the decision. Am I going to keep my heart open? Am I going to keep my heart open? Am I going to love myself, not look for external validation from others? Because this is part of this 55, right? This shadow of victim is looking for validation, external validation from others. I need their validation that I'm okay. Oh, I need people to tell me that I look nice today, or they like my haircut, or they like the clothes that I'm wearing, right? Or I have a problem. I have a problem with my appearance, right? So this can come through with even face, like rashes and things like that on the face. Like, look, I have a problem. Look at me. Because it's all about getting attention, right? This victim consciousness needs attention. And the victim's connected to the ego. And the ego, in order to survive, right, and grow and keep control over you, needs to be fed, right? And it's fed by problems, right? So this is like identifying with the details of your life, right? So it can happen at a subconscious level, Pisces, about creating these problems so that people, oh, she needs attention, right? Oh, this happened to her and that happened to her, you know, just to get attention and to feed this ego and that I exist. That's the victim. So it's about opening up your heart and feeling that pain of just not being accepted, right? As a child and loved unconditionally for who you are, not what you look like. What else do we got here? Well, just because you have the Page of Swords here, it's showing that you're going to be given new information to help you unlock that victim story, right? But it's really about feeling. That's how you really let it go, is to feel. Yeah. And then you're free to be yourself. Okay. Is there anything else for Pisces? Anyway, Venus is going to be there until February 18th for you. So it's going to be going through all the Pisces gates that I went through at the beginning, right? All these, the 36, the 22, the 37, the 55, and the 63 up here. It's going to be going through. So helping you, right? Venus will help you to unlock the victim, right, within you, not to feel victimized by your form. You're much greater than your form, you know? You're a spiritual being having human experiences, and you're in this avatar. That's your body as an avatar, your appearance. Okay. So, there we have the live stream. And so thank you for everyone who has stuck around. I don't know if anybody, stuck around. So be sure to like and share and subscribe if you haven't already. And check out my programs, the Phoenix program and then the recorded readings. They're both still on sale. It's all about you becoming your authentic self. And I have more information on the website. And also the sacred secretion is information that you need to know too. And so the plan is to edit. I like to edit and separate. So it'd be a good idea for you to watch it again, like the shadow part. And And what else do I want to say? So remember that you're not a victim, and don't believe the ego that's telling you a victim. And please do not put people in a box and call them a victim and pity them. Doesn't help anybody. We're great, huge spiritual beings having human experiences. We're more powerful than we've ever been told, right? Don't let anybody tell you who you are, or don't let anybody define you by your experiences. You're much greater than your experiences. Okay? So I'll see you in the next video, and look out for the shorter ones that will be coming out in the next couple days. Okay? So have a great day or evening wherever you are in the world, and do my social media links. I've started doing moon days. So daily moon, where the moon is, like what gates the moon is in, and then little hot tips. So you can find that on Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram. I post those, and YouTube too, the YouTube community page. Okay, so Sat Nam Aloha, everyone. Bye bye. Take care.